You've followed all the rules. You've made an effort, gotten up before sunrise, persevered despite fatigue, sacrificed time with loved ones, saved wherever possible, forgone things you longed for, and searched for smarter ways to spend your money. You've tried so hard that you ask yourself why you still can't escape this money trap. And when the last day of the month arrives, it all starts again. The bills keep coming. The oppressive feeling of not enough still sits in your chest, and you breathe out quietly, knowing it won't change anything. If you feel there's something unfair about this situation, you're right. But the unfairness doesn't come from the world around you. It comes from something no one has ever shown you. From a Stoic perspective, money doesn't simply stay with you just because you try hard. It stays when your inner attitude is stable, calm, and guided by reason rather than fear. This inner attitude isn't magic. It's about how the world reacts to the thoughts, feelings, and beliefs you unconsciously carry within you. You can't influence this inner attitude, but you live with it every day. You express it every time you think about money, talk about it, or make a decision related to money. And the results reflect this inner attitude, month after month, year after year. Others may stare at you, thinking you're lazy, careless, or blind to opportunities. But you know that's not true. You've learned, paid attention, and practiced new skills. You've given up more than you ever thought possible. The problem isn't your work. It's the inner foundation from which that work is built. If you go through life with thoughts like, "I don't have enough," anxiety, self-doubt, and the conviction that everything will go wrong, then money will slip through your fingers, no matter how hard you try. It responds precisely to your inner attitude. This is where most people get stuck. They make decisions out of worry, invest out of fear, spend money while feeling guilty, and set goals while internally struggling with themselves. People speak with words like, "not enough," "too heavy," and "I'm having difficulties," without thinking, without realizing that with every sentence they're changing their inner habits regarding money and reinforcing a mindset that keeps wealth away. The trap works like this. The more you act from a state of inner turmoil, the more the results confirm this negative belief. You try harder, but achieve less. Then you whisper to yourself, "Maybe I'm just bad with money. Maybe I should never have more." But that's not true. Your talent hasn't disappeared. Your actions aren't useless. You're simply sending out the wrong message, and that message makes all your work vanish like smoke. I once stood in the same place, stressed every time I checked my bank account, convinced that if I just worked one more shift, learned one more skill, or read one more helpful book, my life would finally take a turn for the better. But nothing changed because deep down I still carried the mindset, "It's not enough." I was afraid of losing money, doubted my ability to keep it, and didn't truly believe I deserved to live in abundance. Therefore, every step I took, no matter how logical or planned, was weakened by this hidden mindset, of which I was completely unaware. It's like trying to listen to a clear radio program, but changing the station. No matter how great the program is, you'll never hear it if you're tuned in to something else. Things only changed when I paused and asked myself a simple question. Why are there people who achieve and know less than I do, yet money flows into their lives as if it were the most natural thing in the world? The answer wasn't in more facts or more effort. It lay in inner harmony. They don't try to appear rich. They possess a deep sense of self-confidence, reason, and inner peace. They see themselves as capable, act with confidence rather than fear, and their decisions naturally follow this inner strength. When your inner state is stable and balanced, money doesn't just come, it stays. And here comes the important part. You may change your inner state. You can change it from within without waiting for external circumstances to change. Be honest with yourself. Every time the topic of money comes up in your thoughts, what feeling arises first? Worry, fear, tightness, or guilt when you spend money on your own needs? These feelings aren't random. They are old impressions that have been dormant within you for years, perhaps since childhood. When you heard adults panic over bills, learned that success is always linked to suffering, or saw the wealthy condemned for their wealth, and your subconscious has preserved all of these impressions. It sends out a silent signal that shapes everything you see, everything you choose, and everything you receive. If you don't change this mindset, you'll remain trapped in the vicious cycle of constantly feeling never enough. It doesn't matter how many jobs you try, how many courses you take, or how many new plans you make. But the truth is, money doesn't choose people based on good or bad. It doesn't care about degrees. You don't need another 10 years of work experience. You don't have to collect every degree, and you don't need some magical moment to save you. What you really need is to realize that everything you see in your life is a reflection of what's going on in your mind. Understand that you don't lack money. You're simply not in the mindset that allows you to connect with yourself, that's all. And the moment you decide to shift that mindset, even just a little, your entire financial life will change, not because you begged for it, but because of changed. Now you face a decision. You can continue to act from the same tired mindset and hope for something new, or you can find the courage to realign your inner attitude and reach a state where prosperity is no longer a struggle, but the natural consequence of a wiser inner life. When you truly understand that your life is not a fixed external truth, but a reflection of your inner attitude, you already possess a strength that remains hidden to most people. And in that moment, money no longer feels distant, because you are no longer distant from yourself. There's a truth many never speak. Money doesn't follow the simple rules you learned in school. It's not a straightforward process of learning, working hard, and then being rewarded. Some of the richest people you've ever heard of don't follow that system that makes you spin your wheels. They walk a quieter path where wealth arises not just from knowledge, but also from inner harmony, with principles others might call strange or magical. And the beginning of this path isn't some modern trick, some new machine, but an old book that remained hidden from most people for years. A book carefully passed down from hand to hand among people who don't need to boast about their wealth because they understand how wealth works from the ground up. This book isn't displayed in brightly lit bookstore windows. It doesn't appear on bestseller lists because it was never intended for the mass market. Those who study it don't do so for pleasure. They do so to rethink their entire way of thinking about money. And the reason for its secrecy isn't that it's wrong, but that unfortunately, it's true. His truth is so profound that it shakes the entire system you've been taught. The idea that you have to suffer to earn wealth, that money is a tight box everyone wants to fit into, that only a tiny group is destined for abundance. From the very first page, these old beliefs begin to crumble and disintegrate like a thin shell that never truly existed. This book didn't begin at a prestigious university or under the guidance of professors. It began with a loss. A man who once lived in comfort, prestige, and everything the world calls success suddenly plunged into financial ruin. But instead of returning to his old plans or rebuilding his life with the usual ideas, he chose a different path. He withdrew from society and lived quietly and alone for 7 years, not to hide but to understand why some people seem to accept money effortlessly, while others struggle their entire lives without a way out. What he discovered during those years of silence wasn't just experiential knowledge, it was a set of hidden rules, invisible principles that function as reliably as numbers. From his notes, a small manuscript emerged. It was never sold commercially or widely distributed. It was shared only privately with people who could grasp its depth, people with genuine achievements, real discipline, and a yearning for wisdom rather than more tricks or shortcuts. And in those who read it, something began to change. Not loudly, not proudly, but slowly and profoundly, like a seed taking root. The remarkable thing was that the people who applied the teachings never boasted about it. They didn't tell the world what they had learned. They simply lived from a calmer, clearer state of mind, and prosperity came naturally. For one of the book's main lessons is that money doesn't just reward effort, it responds to the right inner order. And while most people act from fear, pressure, and a sense of "I don't have enough," the truly prosperous, the inwardly rich, move with quiet confidence. They don't chase after money, they let it come to them. And because this idea contradicts everything the world teaches, those who understand the manuscript rarely speak of it. They know that teachings about inner energy would be misunderstood or twisted into yet another excuse to try even harder if someone is still stuck in the work more to earn more mindset. Thus, silence becomes a kind of shield, not to hide the truth, but to prevent it from being sown in unsuitable soil. But now that you are beginning to realize that your effort was never the real problem, but that you were merely following an old inner pattern, you have the chance to gain a deeper understanding, one in which money is not the goal, but the reflection of your inner self. The unspoken truth that wealthy people never speak is this: they don't chase after money. They don't ask, how can I get more? But rather, how can I become the kind of person to whom money flows naturally? This difference isn't in budgets, spreadsheets, or complicated financial systems. It lies in the structure of your thoughts, in the words you choose, the feelings you harbor, and the images your mind repeatedly plays when you think about money. These inner fields form a field that determines how money flows in your life. That's why this book, although written many years ago, has lost none of its relevance. It speaks to something within you that is timeless. This teaching is not based on luck, economics, or chance. It is founded on how your inner state influences the world around you, something modern science is only gradually exploring, but which wise people of antiquity lived by without proof. And the amazing thing is, you don't have to change the whole world to change your life. The change begins the moment you stop asking, what do I have to do to get money, and instead ask, who do I become in my relationship with money? That is the first real question. And if you are brave enough to answer it honestly, everything else will gently reveal itself, not like a magic trick from the outside, but as a steady and clearer flow within you, leading you back to the state where prosperity has always been waiting for you. Money doesn't understand the language of pain. It can't comprehend begging, complaining, or fear. The phrases you repeat, like, for example, I don't have enough, I have no money left, or how am I supposed to get through this month? These aren't harmless phrases, they're signals, and every signal you send out carries a specific inner message. The world doesn't respond with pity, but precisely by mirroring the tone of your signals. So, if you remain stuck in the I never have enough mindset, life will keep showing you the same thing. But when you connect with the feeling of abundance, you don't have to force or prove anything. Money flows to you naturally, not because you demand it, but because you've become the kind of person who recognizes it. Most people treat money like a foreign entity. They approach it with nervousness, anger, or mistrust. They think about it in stressful situations, talk about it when they're exhausted, and explain it to their children with trepidation. And then they wonder why money seems so distant. But no relationship can thrive if you don't understand its language. And money doesn't respond to our voice, it responds to our inner voice. This voice is shaped by our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. Imagine you are like a radio tower. Every day you transmit a specific frequency, invisible, but it spreads throughout the field of consciousness around you. When you transmit, I'm never satisfied. You won't hear the song of abundance because it resonates on a completely different channel, calm, peaceful, confident, and fulfilled. You can yearn for this song. You can envy those who live it. You can even try to copy their habits. But unless you change within, you will never hear it. And if you can't hear it, you'll begin to believe it doesn't exist at all. That's why many poor people think that rich people are simply lucky. They believe success is something reserved for certain groups. But this other level isn't created by society. It arises from the energy a person radiates. Truly wealthy people move in harmony with the natural rhythm of money. They don't desperately try to hold on to it because they know it comes and goes, and they remain calmly in tune with that rhythm. Their predominant emotion regarding money is not fear or obsession, but rather consistency, respect, and often gratitude. It is precisely this emotional stability that helps money find them, not because they are clamoring for it, but because they are in harmony with its state. Money behaves like a wave, seeking something that resonates at the same rhythm. If your inner state is not in sync, no financial plan, no trick, no strategy will ever bring about real change. You can change jobs, work overtime, save every penny, or learn new skills. But if you keep sending out thoughts like these internally, I don't deserve good things, I'm never satisfied, or I must suffer just to survive, then money will only ever flow in small, uncertain, or temporary amounts. It will never lead to lasting wealth. So what is the right inner attitude? It's not about pretending to be rich while your bank account is empty. It's not about repeating nice phrases while still dreading spending. The right inner attitude begins with honest self-reflection. Observe what's going on inside you when you think about money. Do you feel the tightness in your chest or the knot in your stomach when you see a bill or think about buying something? Do you feel fear, guilt, or hesitation? These feelings shape your inner attitude. And what you need first isn't more money. It's a different emotional attitude toward money. Money isn't created by external influences, it's attracted by your inner attitude. Those who understand this don't wait. They develop a mind so calm, clear, and serene that even their financial life recognizes the signal. This isn't superficial optimism or daydreaming. It's the discipline to align thoughts, feelings, and actions, a kind of stoic order. When you firmly believe in giving something valuable to the world, that you deserve good things and that you no longer act out of fear, your actions naturally become more powerful. You speak more confidently, make wiser decisions, and radiate a presence that others sense even if they don't know why. You don't have to announce it. I want money. One must live in such a way that money has a stable environment in which it can thrive. That is the language money understands. It doesn't engage in conflict but responds to harmony. Every time you complain about costs, moan about rising prices, or blame life for your misfortune, you're not just expressing frustration, you're sending out a signal that repels money. Not because you're wrong or flawed, but because you're speaking a language money doesn't understand. It's like standing next to someone who speaks a completely different language. No matter how close you are, communication won't happen unless you're both sending the same signal. Another often unspoken truth is that money disappears when you're obsessed with it. If you appear desperate, you're sending a message of emptiness, not readiness. Some believe that strong desire alone leads to results, but that's not how the world works. The universe responds to your state, not the intensity of your desire. Desire, coupled with gratitude, enthusiasm, and openness, acts like a powerful magnet. Desire, however, mixed with fear, pressure, and anxiety, pulls you deeper into the wrong state. Remember, money doesn't attract those who need it. It attracts those who are in harmony with it. When you understand the language of money, you no longer feel the need to control it. You simply need to direct your inner attitude. Every morning when you wake up, your first feeling sends out a message. Every spending decision you make, every reaction to unexpected expenses, changes your inner vibration. You can continue to speak the language of fear, or you can begin to learn the language money can follow: calm, abundance, and respect. From this perspective, you stop chasing money because money flows naturally to those who send the right signal. And when your signal becomes clear, you realize that money was never the real problem. The only thing that was unclear was the message you were sending out, too weak for the money to recognize that you were the person it was meant to reach. Maria hadn't had a sheltered childhood and had no special opportunities. The 42-year-old single mother lives in a small rented apartment and works as an office clerk. Every morning she gets up at 5, helps her child with schoolwork, squeezes onto the crowded bus, and comes home in the evening so exhausted that even a proper meal is difficult. She's used to paying bills late, constantly changing her credit card, and denying herself small purchases. But the worst part wasn't the money itself. It was this heavy feeling in her chest, the feeling of doing everything in her power and still being powerless. She wasn't lazy, negligent, or unwilling to learn. She was simply stuck and didn't understand why. Everything began to change when she started putting the Stoic principles you've heard about into practice. There was no magic moment. Nothing dramatic happened outwardly. She didn't win a prize, and no one simply handed her a miracle. What changed was her inner attitude, the way she viewed her life. On the first day, she tried just one small action. She paid attention to how she talked about money. Instead of saying, "I can't," she asked herself, "If I remain calm and think clearly, what decision can I make right now?" It seemed like a small thing, but that single step shifted her entire inner orientation. Within a few weeks, she no longer felt ashamed when she treated herself. After 2 months, she felt so confident that she could talk to her boss about her salary. The surprising thing was that she didn't even have to argue. She got the raise and further training for a better position. 6 months later, she was earning twice as much as before. But the biggest change wasn't the salary. It was the quiet strength, the self-confidence, and the constant feeling of "I have enough" that took root within her, like a new inner habit. Carlos, 38, was a typical businessman. He had founded 3 different companies, launching each one with great enthusiasm and energy, and each one failing in utter exhaustion. The ideas were always good, the customers were enthusiastic, and initially everything seemed promising, but whenever it came to growth, everything collapsed. Partners left, the money dried up, teams fell apart. He began to believe that fate was out to get him. At times he even thought he was financially ruined, Despite his talent and ambition, he always ended up back at square one. After each failure, he tried even harder, studied more, slept less, and yet saw no change. Then Carlos turned his gaze inward, not in search of new strategies, but by questioning his judgments and expectations. He realized that deep down, he believed he had to suffer to deserve success. He carried the image of a warrior who always had to fight and felt alienated and insecure whenever everything was going well. Unconsciously, he created new problems simply to confirm the story he was telling himself. Stoicism helped him understand that true strength doesn't come from constant struggle, but from a calm mind that prefers wise action to chaos. And this realization was the beginning of his true transformation. This realization frightened him, but from that moment on he began to approach his work differently. He stopped constantly being busy, no longer needed praise for pushing himself to the limit, and no longer acted out of fear of failure. Instead of having to prove himself, he worked from a place of inner peace, guided by reason rather than panic. A year later, his new company was not only generating a steady income, but investors were already contacting him. But what truly made Carlos happy was this. For the first time in his life, work felt easy. Not because the tasks were simple, but because he had stopped striving unnecessarily just to feel worthy of success. Anna's story is the last one I want to tell you. She's 55, works as an accountant in a mid-sized office, lives frugally and never wastes money. Yet she never felt truly secure in financial matters. Even without debt and with some savings, she was plagued by constant doubts like, what if something bad happens? She didn't invest, didn't venture into unfamiliar territory, and didn't trust her money. Every decision she made was marked by a hidden fear. She didn't want to become a bad person. Even as a child, she heard adults say things like, rich people are greedy. Money makes you cruel. Wealth destroys kindness. Deep down, she associated wealth with cold hearts and distant personalities. Whenever more money entered her life, she silently blocked it, not with words but with unconscious habits, letting opportunities slip by, turning down promotions, and avoiding better positions. Part of her believed she would lose herself if she had more. Everything changed the day she read a line in the manuscript. Money doesn't corrupt your character. It reveals the character you already have. This sentence forced her to face reality. The problem wasn't the money itself. It was the story she associated with it. She began to develop a new understanding of wealth, not of luxury goods or power over others, but of the ability to choose freely without fear of manipulation. Slowly, she grew accustomed to viewing money with the same serenity as sunlight or fresh air, as something natural. Within a year, she had tripled her fortune and finally invested in a small project she had dreamed of for years, something she once believed was forbidden. But the greatest reward wasn't the financial gain, it was the feeling of inner peace. After more than 3 decades of work, she finally felt that she wasn't just surviving, she was truly living. All 3 of them, Maria, Carlos, and Anna, are not so different from you. They didn't have influential connections or come from wealthy families. They didn't simply read a manuscript and suddenly become rich. What they did have, however, was the courage to look into the depths of their own being, the depths no school teaches, the place ordinary financial advice never reaches. They learned to work on the foundation of all results, their inner attitude. And as that inner attitude changed, so did their decisions. As their decisions changed, new opportunities arose, and as new opportunities arose, they stopped repeating the same painful stories of the past. They embarked on a different path in life. This wasn't a quick burst of motivation. It was a real transformation, one that began the moment they stopped acting out of fear and instead acted with calm and composure. They learned to speak the silent language to which money stoically responds, I am prepared. You weren't born believing that life must always be scarce or empty. This idea was instilled in you before you were old enough to question it. Many simple phrases uttered around you, we can't afford that, don't be greedy, people like us don't get ahead, became ingrained in your thinking long before you grasped their implications. And now you have the chance to unlearn them. Perhaps you believe money comes from nowhere, or that rich people are always dishonest, or that your only chance is to win the lottery someday. Such ideas are like little commands that take root within you, and once they've taken hold, no one can stop you. You halt your own progress long before anything good can reach you. You think you're making free choices, but most of the time, the deeply buried beliefs within you are making the decisions for you. Perhaps you tell yourself that you lack talent, luck, or the necessary resources to improve your life. But behind these excuses lies a silent thought you've never questioned. I'm not one of those people who are doing well. This feeling isn't true. It's the result of hearing the same messages over and over again until they seem normal. If you grew up with sayings like "save everything," "don't dream too big," "rich people forget their hearts," or "no matter what you do, it's never enough," then even with perfect financial knowledge, you'll still encounter a hidden burden holding you back. Perhaps you feel guilty when you finally have a little more money, you're tense when everything is going well, or you fear that a changed life means betraying the family patterns you grew up with. That's why so many people work tirelessly, and yet remain stuck in the same place. They believe that effort alone will eventually change their situation. But if you've learned to view money as something dangerous or shameful, you unconsciously block your own progress. As soon as new opportunities arise, you might close them off again. You spend everything just to return to the familiar world, a world in which you survive, but never truly feel safe. Why is this? Because the mind doesn't strive for success, but for the familiar. And if this familiar state is scarcity, then more possessions feel alien, even frightening. The strange truth is, one can be wise, educated, and hard-working, and still be guided by a childhood belief that one has never questioned. And if you never questioned your parents' sayings about money, or their behavior regarding bills, expenses, or work, then you probably still carry their old ways of thinking within you, even though you live in a completely new era. It's not about blaming them. They gave you what they could based on their knowledge and understanding at the time. They taught you how to survive. But survival isn't the best way to live. And Stoic wisdom teaches that you have the power to make better choices and cultivate a healthier inner life. When you're ready to let go of the old beliefs that shape your decisions, you'll find that a scarcity mindset manifests in three common forms: fear of loss, fear of risk, and fear of not being good enough. You experience this every time you want to invest in yourself, learn something new, take a course, or even buy something that will make you feel empowered. Immediately, that old voice pipes up, "What if it's stupid? Don't waste money. People like me don't do that sort of thing." Does this sound familiar? These aren't your true thoughts, they're echoes of beliefs passed down through many years. And if you never pause to question them, you pass those same fears on to future generations. Even if you never want to. You're not limited because there's something wrong with you. You're limited because you're carrying around an inner script that was never your own. You're not fighting because there's something wrong with you. You're fighting because you're predisposed to feel uncomfortable with being content. And this predisposition isn't based on knowledge, but on old, unquestioned feelings. These feelings don't simply disappear by reading a book or listening to a lecture. They only begin to dissolve when you directly examine the beliefs you've been taught and consciously choose to form new ones. You change these beliefs by developing new habits. Instead of shying away from money as if it were dangerous, you learn to welcome it calmly, like a friend you aren't afraid of. Instead of feeling ashamed when you earn more, you remember your honest work and the value you bring to the world. Instead of shutting yourself up in worry, you practice gratitude and clear thinking. This isn't feigned positivity. This is the inner discipline the Stoics call true work, the work of questioning your judgments. You can't build a stable life while clinging to memories of deprivation. Early wounds, piling bills, relatives arguing over payments, hearing "we can't afford anything," don't simply vanish with adulthood. They shape how you react. So when a new opportunity arises, you don't react like the person you are today. You react like the child who felt insecure. And if you don't recognize this pattern, you repeat it again and again, only this time the responsibilities of adulthood replace the anxieties of childhood. True financial peace doesn't begin with charts or lists. It begins with the courageous question, who actually makes these decisions within me? And if you listen honestly, you'll realize it's not society holding you back. It's the old stories you've never questioned, stuck in a mindset where money seems out of place. The good news is, every belief can be replaced, but you have to start by shedding the old armor, made of fear, doubt, and hopelessness. You must consciously choose new thoughts. I will not live according to the fearful mindsets that shaped the generation before me. I respect their struggle, but I am not bound by it. When you make this silent, inner promise, you're not just improving your finances, you're reshaping the inner foundation that future generations will inherit from you. Money doesn't simply flow to you just because you desire it. It comes when your character, emotions, and actions are strong enough to handle it. The world doesn't bend to your wishes. It responds to the alignment of thoughts and behavior. Just as you can only receive a radio station once you've tuned in to the right one, you can't lead a healthier financial life if your inner state is still ruled by fear or a belief in your own unworthiness. Money is constantly circulating. It's created, traded, shared, and earned. But if your thoughts are trapped in worry, panic, or self-doubt, you'll repeatedly find yourself in situations that reflect those very feelings. Stoic thinking isn't about daydreaming. It's about adopting a more serene inner attitude toward life. And here's the strange part. Many people wait for money to arrive before they feel good, grateful, or confident. But because they keep waiting, nothing changes. This waiting sends them a clear message: I don't have enough. The world doesn't respond to the words you speak out loud. It responds to the way you act, feel, and believe every single day. If your deepest feelings are shaped by the fear of lack, you can't change your life with a few encouraging words. What truly transforms your reality is inner harmony, a mind trained to think clearly, a heart that remains calm, and actions guided by reason, not fear. True alignment doesn't come from feigning wealth or online boasting. It comes from calming your mind, making wiser choices, and living a life that aligns with the person you aspire to be. Real change begins when you stop saying, "One day I will have that." Begin to live with the serenity of someone already on this path, not because you're putting on an act, but because something within you has changed. You may not have a fortune in the bank today, but if you train your mind daily, create real value, spend consciously and purposefully, and develop strong habits instead of chasing quick profits, then you are already living like someone building lasting wealth. A Stoic knows that character comes before results and that good habits lead to good results. The real question is not, how can I get more money? The better question is, how do I become the kind of person for whom money feels completely natural? The starting point is always your inner state. Ask yourself, do you think and act like someone who feels inwardly fulfilled or like someone who feels empty? This isn't dependent on the size of your wallet, but on how you breathe, how you talk about life, and how you deal with challenges. A Stoic isn't guided by fear. They make decisions with calm composure. They don't spend their money because they're nervous or sad, but thoughtfully. They don't work in a panic for survival, but with the knowledge that they are adding something meaningful to the world. I knew people who didn't own much, yet lived as if they carried a quiet light within them. They didn't complain, they didn't tense up, and they didn't withdraw when life changed. They went through each day with a calm heart, grateful for every small opportunity, and treated their tasks like a construction worker who keeps the big picture in mind. Strangely enough, money came to them in unexpected ways, through surprising people, unusual coincidences, and seemingly random events. But for a Stoic, nothing is accidental. When your inner self is in balance, the outer world often responds in unpredictable ways. And to be clear, this doesn't mean you should sit around waiting for a magical moment. Stoic serenity is not laziness. It is the highest form of discipline. Discipline over your feelings, discipline over your thoughts, and discipline over the energy you invest daily. You must learn to observe your own mind. When fear grips you, bring yourself back into balance. When envy arises, remember, I don't lack anything. I just need to realign myself. If you're trying to control the whole world, practice letting go and trusting the natural order. It's hard work, but it's the first principle and forms the basis for any real financial transformation. Money doesn't come on its own. Money comes when you become the fertile ground for it to flourish. And that fertile ground isn't your IQ, your degree, or your career path. It's your inner state, the one you carry within you every day. When you act from your full potential, your decisions change. You won't trade your inner peace for a paycheck. You'll choose wisely where to invest your energy. You'll recognize your own worth before anyone else does, and your question will change from, when will I finally have money, to, what part of me do I need to adapt so that I can live like someone who is already prepared? From this moment on, you stop begging for results You begin to create them yourself, not with brute force, but through clear and consistent precision. Once you are in harmony with yourself, money no longer plays a central role, because you don't just attract it, you preserve it, increase it, and use it in a way that strengthens your goals. This isn't fantasy, but cause and effect. A Stoic doesn't need belief for the truth to work. They simply live in harmony with the actual laws of the world. You don't live according to your bank balance, but according to your inner attitude. Money doesn't only flow to those who deserve it, and it doesn't disappear from those who are unlucky. Money appears and stays when your inner state corresponds to its needs. Hard work, academic degrees, and good looks are merely secondary. The true root lies in your inner attitude, from which you think, act, and feel, even if you don't yet realize it. That's why two people can do the same work in the same place with the same tools and still achieve completely different financial results. One develops further, the other constantly struggles to survive. It's not about skills, not about the economic situation. It's about their inner attitude. Every person sends out an invisible signal, shaped by their beliefs, feelings, and the thoughts they repeat throughout the day. This signal needs no words, no speeches, no attention. It silently proclaims to the world, "That's just how I am." If your inner voice says, "I can never get enough," or "I'm afraid of losing," or "I don't know how to save money," then the events in your life will reflect this message. Even if you receive an important assignment, win the lottery, or someone surprises you with a large sum of money, if your inner attitude is still dominated by fear and lack, you will somehow waste it, ruin it, or unconsciously reject it. Stoics understand this. Your actions follow your beliefs, even the silent ones you hide from yourself. Many people think money is just paper or numbers, but money is like concentrated power. It attracts people whose inner attitude aligns with it. When your inner energy is stable and abundant, you don't need to boast or seek recognition. You can simply walk into a room and people will sense your quiet strength. They'll realize you have a firm footing. They'll trust your work because your consistency, honesty, and openness give them security. People want to support you not because you're perfect, but because you radiate inner peace. This isn't a trick, it's your natural radiance. Reflect on your feelings. What's the first thing you feel about money in the morning? Are you nervous and tense, or do you feel ready to create something valuable again? Do you feel bad or grateful when you spend money? Are you inspired or bitter when you see someone who has more? Each answer reveals your current attitude. None of the answers mean you're wrong. They simply point out areas you haven't yet explored. Once you're aware of your attitude, you can begin to change it. If you don't change it, you'll remain trapped in a cycle, earning something, losing something, starting again, failing again, and then blaming the world. Change doesn't begin with feigned happiness or empty words. The world can't be fooled. Your true self always emerges, no matter what you say. True transformation only begins when you clean house within. When you finally acknowledge your fear of money, your discomfort with more possessions, and the heavy feeling of not deserving support. When you bring to light the memories you've suppressed, your father's worried face, your mother's sleepless nights worrying about the bills, the hurtful remarks from relatives when you dreamed of greater things. All these memories still speak within you, even if you haven't heard their voices. One cannot live in a spirit of abundance if the heart is still bound by old wounds regarding money. But you may heal, and when you do, the inner message you send outwards will begin to change. When you finally make peace with money, you'll realize that money was never your enemy. It didn't run away from you, it was simply waiting for you to regain your inner balance so it could return. Money doesn't come to change your character. It reflects who you want to be. And when you act as if you know your worth, as if you can receive without fear, and as if you no longer tie your worth to a number, money will come naturally. Living with the right inner attitude isn't magic. It's the Stoic practice of acting consciously, shaping one's reactions, and maintaining the emotional strength with which one wants to live, no matter what happens around you. People with an attitude of abundance don't pretend to be successful. They create their success through their thoughts, their habits, and their small decisions. That's why money attracts them, because they have already recognized their own power. The world doesn't give you what you want. It reflects who you are through the energy you radiate each day. If you want to improve your financial situation, don't chase the result. Return to your source. Restore your inner balance. When your inner voice is clear and consistent, money ceases to be a desirable goal and becomes a natural consequence of your personal growth. Don't say anything too hastily. "I love money," or "I want to be rich." These are just fleeting thoughts that come to mind. The real question is, when you close your eyes and imagine money, not just mentally but physically, what feeling arises first? That first feeling is the true one. It's the signal you send out day after day, even if your words say otherwise. It's not what you say that shapes your financial life. It's the internal image, the idea of what money means to you, that unconsciously influences your decisions, your behavior, and your results. Try this simple exercise. Pause, close your eyes, breathe in slowly, and imagine yourself opening your banking app. It contains a large sum of money, enough to keep you comfortable for a long time. Let the image form clearly in your mind's eye. Don't force joy or excitement, just observe. When you see this number, what feeling arises first? Do you feel truly calm, or is a sense of unease rising within you? Are you worried about keeping it? Do you feel you don't deserve it? This first feeling is your inner map. It doesn't have to be pleasant. It just has to be honest. Once you can clearly identify this feeling, you can finally begin to change it. Many people have distorted perceptions of money without ever pausing to acknowledge them. They believe they are striving for wealth, yet deep down they fear criticism, the loss of what they have achieved, or the changes their lives might bring. Thus, they remain trapped in the cycle of work, earnings, worries, spending, and more work. Not because they lack talent, but because their internal image is sending the wrong signals. Money, like any symbol in our minds, is linked to old emotions from the past, memories of times of shame due to lack of money, arguments at home over bills, lessons like, "Don't waste money," "Rich people are bad," or "Money isn't everything, but life is painful without it." All these memories shape the way your inner world reacts to money today. Each of these moments from your past has left a small trace within you, and all these traces together form a silent inner image. You may believe you've left it behind, but your deeper consciousness hasn't. And this deeper consciousness guides almost every one of your financial decisions, even if you don't realize it. Now try again, but this time imagine you're sitting in a quiet, beautiful room, sunlight streaming through the window. In front of you is a stack of money, no other people, no judgment, no noise, just you and the money. What arises within you? Do you feel calm or do you want to push it away? Do you feel supported or oppressed, courageous or guilty? Whatever emerges in this moment is your true inner state. And until you reconcile with this inner image, every financial plan you pursue externally will feel shaky because the foundation within you hasn't been restored. The encouraging truth is, you can change this inner image. Every day, sit quietly, take a deep breath, and imagine receiving money with gratitude, comfort, and security, completely without force. Not because you want to control the universe, but because you are developing a new way of thinking. Every time you visualize money positively and experience a sense of balance, you send a new signal to your nervous system. You dissolve old patterns and allow a new future to emerge from the ground up. Consider this a simple daily exercise, 3 minutes in the morning or evening. Close your eyes, breathe slowly, visualize a scene with money, but this time, you are calm and balanced. You accept it serenely. You use it for what truly matters. You know how to protect it, increase it, and share it wisely. Let this image take root deep within you. After a few weeks, you will notice small changes. You no longer spend your money out of fear. You begin to invest instead of panicking and saving. You recognize opportunities you previously overlooked because your inner world is becoming clearer and more stable. People who have their finances under control aren't always the most ambitious or the loudest. They're simply the ones who find inner peace when they think about money. Not because they have more than you, but because they've healed their inner image, and you can too. Not by waiting until your bank account is full, but by having the courage to start before everything seems perfect. You alone decide how you deal with money. It ceases to be something distant to fight against and becomes something you can work with by changing your thoughts, your feelings, and your daily reactions. When you've gained control over your inner image, you'll no longer beg for wealth. You'll naturally radiate calm and confidence. You'll live as if you already have enough, and the world will reflect that back to you through opportunities, support, and the financial growth you once called luck. But in truth, there is no happiness, only the alignment of your inner state with the world around you. Select the state where you live. Every time you say, "I have no money," you think you're speaking the truth. But in reality, you're giving a clear instruction, not to anyone outside of yourself, but to the world around you, to your own subconscious mind, and to the nervous system that receives your thoughts. It's not just a statement, it's a command. And the disturbing thing is that the world doesn't judge, doesn't question, and doesn't feel sympathy. It simply responds to the signal you keep sending out. Proverb, "I have no money." It's like labeling yourself and wearing it every day. By repeating it, you lock your mind into that role. You start acting like someone who is constantly inadequate. You make decisions like someone who feels limited by their boundaries. You pass up opportunities like a fearful person. And even worse, you develop an inner mood that corresponds to this feeling of not being enough. This inner tone hums within you day after day, even if you never speak it aloud. Just thoughts like, "Probably not enough. Now is not the right time to try. I can't afford it." That's enough to revive the old pattern of scarcity. And you're the one giving the signal that this way of thinking will continue. Thinking in terms of scarcity doesn't necessarily mean living without money. Many people have jobs, homes, savings, and yet feel like they're drowning. Every decision is driven by fear. Every step feels arduous and exhausting. The dangerous thing is that they believe they're simply being realistic, when in reality, they're looking at a world shaped by their beliefs. And these beliefs stem from the words they speak every day. The simple sentence, "I have no money," it's like a locked door. As soon as you speak it, your mind stops searching, your body goes into defense mode, your imagination falls silent, and suddenly you only perceive things that confirm your statement. Unpaid bills, small numbers, others who are better off. Opportunities don't disappear. You simply close your eyes to them, and life, steady and unquestioned, follows the order you've set. Words don't just describe your path, they shape it. Every phrase you use acts like a little plan for your future. People who understand this never repeat sentences like, "I am poor, I have no money, I don't have enough." They don't avoid these statements to pretend everything is different. They avoid them because they know that every word sends a signal to their subconscious. They don't say, "I have no money." You say, "I am learning to manage my finances wisely." They do not say, "I can't do that." You say, "I am further developing my skills." They do not pretend to be wealthy. They choose to maintain the serenity that comes with true wisdom, gratitude, openness, and no harsh self-recrimination. Try changing the usual wording, "I have no money," inside, "How can I implement this with my existing resources?" Your horizons immediately begin to expand. This question stimulates your imagination and helps you discover abilities, skills, and people who can support you, things you had forgotten. And when you use this kind of language daily, you change not only your words but also the underlying beliefs. Beliefs aren't formed through logic, but through repetition. And repetition begins with how you talk to yourself. You might be thinking, "I'm just saying, it's harmless." But pay attention to how often a simple sentence has completely changed your mood. How often have you said, "I am useless," and then a heavy feeling washed over you? Words are like sparks. They send commands. They trigger reactions in your mind. And if you don't choose them carefully, they will shape your life unintentionally. People who are wise with money pay close attention to their words, not because they are afraid of magic, but because they understand that the language one uses effortlessly reflects the inner state in which one constantly lives. If you want to live a life of lasting prosperity, you must stop talking as if you constantly lack something. Stop using phrases like, "I'm just trying to get by somehow, that's too much for me to even think about," or "I could never achieve that." Every sentence like that acts like a stone, and you slowly build an invisible wall around yourself, a wall that keeps good opportunities out. From now on, start paying attention to the words that leave your mouth. Every time you feel the urge to say, "I have no money," pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, what lesson am I teaching my own mind with this sentence? If it teaches discouragement, choose a wiser way of expressing yourself. A Stoic knows that the mind can be trained and that you have the right to start anew from within. You don't have to be rich to speak with groundedness, calmness, and competence. Only when you speak from inner strength do you begin to project that strength into your life. Wealth doesn't simply fall to those who deserve it. Rather, wealth follows those who create the inner conditions for wise decisions. And these conditions begin with the small words you speak every day. You can't expect life to open new paths for you while simultaneously projecting fear. You can't hope for growth while slamming the door in your own face. Let every sentence you speak sound like an open gate, allowing opportunities, resources, and helpful support to align with the mindset you wish to cultivate. When you do this, you'll find that life isn't rejecting you. It's simply reflecting the tone you consistently repeat. Every time you say, "I have no money," you believe you are stating a fact, but in reality, you are giving a direct command, not to someone else, but to the world around you, to your innermost being, and to your entire body, which absorbs every word. It is not merely a remark, but a command. And here lies the point many fear. The world does not judge your statement. It does not ask whether it is just or unjust. It feels no pity. It responds solely to your inner attitude. Proverb, "I have no money." It's like sticking a badge on your chest. If you repeat it, you become rigid in that role. You behave like someone stuck. You make decisions like someone without alternatives. You close yourself off to possibilities like someone anticipating loss. And deeper down, you're projecting an inner mood that corresponds to emptiness. This mood resonates within you even when you're silent. Just thoughts like these are probably not enough. Now is not the right time to try it. Or I can't afford that. That's enough to restart the old pattern. And you are the one who keeps that pattern alive. Many people who think this way don't actually lack money. Some have jobs, a house, and savings, yet still live with a constant feeling of inadequacy. Every decision is fraught with tension. Every action feels difficult. And the insidious thing is that they believe they are simply being realistic, when in reality, their perspective is merely a reflection of their beliefs. And beliefs are shaped by the language one speaks daily. The simple sentence, "I have no money," it works like a secret code. When you use it, your mind shuts down, your body goes into defense mode, your imagination fades, and suddenly you only perceive what aligns with that belief. Billings, low numbers, others who are better off. Opportunities don't disappear. You simply command yourself to ignore them. And life, constant as a servant who never argues, carries out precisely the instruction you've given. Words don't just explain your world, they help shape it. Every word you choose acts like a sketch for the life you will later lead. People who understand this avoid repeating sentences like this: "I don't have enough," "I am poor," or "I will never receive the money." They don't avoid these lines to put on an act or deceive themselves. They avoid them because they know that every word sends a message to the mind. Instead of saying, "I have no money," you say, "I'm learning to manage my money better." Instead of saying, "I can't do that," you say, "I am further developing my skills." They don't try to appear rich. They choose to live with the quiet strength, gratitude, and consistent habits that characterize truly down-to-earth people. Try changing that old saying, "I have no money inside. How can I implement this with what I already have?" Your mind opens immediately. Questions like these stimulate your imagination and help you rediscover tools, ideas, and people you had forgotten. When you practice this way of speaking daily, you're not just exchanging words, you're gradually rebuilding the inner convictions that guide your decisions. Convictions aren't formed through argument, they're shaped through repetition, and language is where that repetition begins. One might think I'm just saying something minor. It doesn't matter, but look closely. How often have you said something simple and suddenly your feelings changed? How often have you said, "I am useless"? And did you feel a heavy weight in your chest? Words act like sparks. They are like commands. They trigger reactions in mind and body. And if you don't take control of your words, they will silently and subtly determine your life. People who live in prosperity choose their words carefully, not because they want to ward off misfortune, but because they understand something the Stoics have always taught. What you repeat shapes your inner world, and your inner world shapes your actions. If you truly want a stable and peaceful relationship with money, you need to stop talking as if you're stuck in a dead end. Stop using phrases like, "I barely survived." That's far too expensive to even imagine, or "I could never have that." Each of these sentences becomes a stone in the wall blocking possibilities, and you yourself are building this wall, sentence by sentence. From now on, pay attention to each sentence before you speak it. Every time you feel the urge to say, "I have no money," pause, take a breath and ask, "What does this teach my own mind?" If the answer is limitation, choose a better way to phrase it. You always have the right to start over, and you don't need wealth to speak as if you possess inner wealth. Only when you speak with the calm confidence of someone who trusts their actions do you begin to live in accordance with that confidence. Money doesn't flow to those who deserve it. Money comes to those who maintain a steadfast inner attitude, an attitude that combines patience, clarity, effort, and self-respect. This attitude begins with the small words you use every day. You can't expect new opportunities from life while sending out words filled with fear. You can't hope for growth while your own words are closing the door on you. Let every sentence act like a silent key so that opportunities, support, and resources align with your chosen attitude. Soon, you'll realize that the world isn't rejecting you. It's simply responding to the signals you consistently send out. No one is born destined for success. No one is born with the mindset of abundance. Every mindset is formed over time. The real question is, what inner program are you currently living with? And do you understand that you, not your story, not your family, not your past mistakes, have the power to rewrite the entire mental script that guides your decisions? Each of us carries layers of thought accumulated since childhood, but a Stoic knows this truth. The mind can be trained, the script can be rewritten, and self-mastery always begins within. Words we heard in our childhood, such as "don't waste money, that's too expensive," or "we don't have enough, darling," they take root in the subconscious and form hidden thought patterns. Moments of financial loss, incurring debt and failing to repay it, bad investments, fraud, or the shame of wanting a better life also shape us. All these experiences unconsciously draw a kind of map in our minds and mold our attitude toward money. This map guides our decisions, not through reason but through old, deeply ingrained emotional habits. If you want to give your life a new direction, you have to redraw this inner map. And to redraw the map, you have to rewrite the code that created it. A Stoic would do this in 3 steps. First, understand how the old code works. Second, stop the automatic reaction the moment it occurs. Third, plant new thoughts and repeat them until they become ingrained and natural. Start with observation. Every time you have to make a financial decision, whether it's a purchase, an investment, learning a skill, or supporting someone else, pause and pay attention to the first thought that comes to mind. It might be, "It's not worth it," or "What if everything goes wrong?" or "I'm not good enough for that," or even, "Maybe later." These thoughts are neither wise nor realistic. They are old thought patterns that keep telling the same story. If you ignore them, you will continue to experience the same pattern, the same fears, the same habits, the same results, only with a different job, different clothes, or at a different age. That's why the second step is to break the reflex. You don't have to suppress your fear. You just have to pause and ask yourself, why do I believe that? As soon as you ask this question, you've already regained control. Don't try to suppress the feeling. Examine it honestly. If you feel fear, fear of missing out, fear of losing, fear of judgment, acknowledge it. Emotions aren't the villain, they're a message, and a Stoic knows that messages should be studied, not ignored. If you observe the feeling without letting it control you, you'll realize that beneath the fear lies nothing more than an old, outdated belief, stubbornly clinging to power. The final and most effective step is anchoring a new belief. This isn't achieved by loudly proclaiming affirmations or feigning confidence. It's achieved by creating a powerful emotional image within yourself daily until your nervous system accepts it as normal. Not through empty words, but through images, calm focus, and feelings that penetrate deep into your body. One of the most helpful methods is emotional visualization. Take about 10 minutes each day, close your eyes, and imagine yourself achieving the financial stability you're working toward. Picture yourself in a peaceful, beautiful room. See yourself calmly planning how you will spend your money. See yourself helping others because you want to, not because you feel obligated. See yourself walking through life with quiet strength, the strength of someone who has nothing to prove but much to give. And in this practice, it's not about the objects, the space, or the numbers. The most important thing is how one feel the peace, feel the self-confidence. Feel the gratitude that rises within you when your mind is clear and calm. This feeling is the true signal you send out into yourself. And consciously use your language for this, not to impress others, but to realign your inner world. Change the sentences you say to yourself. Don't say, "I'm not good with money." Say instead, "I am learning how to use money in a way that aligns with my purpose in life." Don't say, "I'm not ready yet." Say, "I am evolving into the kind of person who is ready." A Stoic knows that change begins within, and that every word you choose, no matter how small, becomes a building block in the new life you are building. Language is like an inner script that guides our thoughts. A Stoic knows, if you don't consciously train this script every day, old patterns creep back in. The mind always strives for the familiar, even if it's not helpful. That's why consistent practice is more important than sudden perfection. You don't have to change everything at once. It's enough to choose one habit, stick with it long enough, and remain alert. This is how the Stoic sharpens his character, through patient repetition. Every morning, reframe the ideas you want to live by, just as a Stoic reviews their principles at the start of the day. Each evening, visualize your wiser self, applying reason instead of fear. Notice how your mind reacts when faced with a financial decision or in a situation involving gain or loss. A Stoic doesn't act impulsively. Instead, they pause, analyze the feeling, and choose a calmer, clearer thought. At first, this feels unfamiliar, as if you're standing on legs that aren't entirely yours. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, everything changes. You now act purposefully instead of panicking. You make considered decisions where you were once paralyzed. You remain calm while others are driven by distractions. Then you know your inner work is bearing fruit. You stop living according to old habits and begin to act consciously. This doesn't mean you have to erase your former self. It simply means you stop letting the outdated beliefs that once controlled you control you. A Stoic doesn't fight against shadows. They develop such a strong inner strength that old fears eventually lose their power. When your inner world is stable, the outer world calms down as well. When your guiding principles are deeply rooted, your behavior changes almost automatically. And when your inner state reaches a clearer, calmer level, life responds to that stability. True reprogramming happens quietly, like Stoic training. It needs neither applause nor attention. But you will clearly feel the change as soon as you stop being guided by fear and begin acting from a consciously cultivated conviction. Then you stop begging for an improvement in your life. You become the person who, through strength of character and consistent decisions, brings about improvements themselves. To put it stoically, money doesn't come from hard work. Money comes from a strong character, pure intentions, and disciplined action, not from despair. The world doesn't reward those who move the most. It rewards those whose actions stem from inner order, those whose charisma reflects the value they offer. It's never just about the work, but about the person doing the work. Many people chase after strategies and steps, forgetting the Stoic truth that our character shapes our actions. Two people can learn the same skill, pursue the same plan, or invest the same amount of money, but their results will differ greatly if one is driven by fear of loss, while the other acts from a calm sense of purpose and a desire to help others. It is not the action alone that creates progress, but the character behind the action. You can learn to communicate well, start a business, close deals, or manage money. But if you continue to believe you must work incessantly to prove your worth, every action you take will silently say, "Please notice me." And the world will reflect that message back to you. A Stoic knows that true influence doesn't come from begging for recognition. It comes from becoming someone whose actions demonstrate clarity, courage, and unwavering inner strength. There will always be a life where you're constantly running around, always trying to prove that you're important, that you're capable enough, and yet still feel like you have to try even harder. A Stoic sees this as a life ruled by fear, the fear of not being good enough. But when your inner identity becomes, "I already possess value within me," you no longer force yourself to impress anyone. You simply stand firm. Your calm, your grounded energy, and your balanced demeanor speak louder than anything you could say. This is the power of character that transcends effort. The difference lies within you, not in the tasks you accomplish. If deep down you still believe you have to fight for survival, compete for everything, and defend every inch of ground, then money will always feel like something chasing the horizon. Never close, never constant, never truly yours. But when your identity shifts to that of a Stoic creator, someone who builds value through wisdom, clarity, and discipline, money becomes a byproduct, not a struggle. It comes because you have the power to use it wisely, not because you blindly chase after it. Think back to the times when you earned the most or grew the most. It probably didn't happen when you were stressed and overworked. It happened when you were at peace with yourself, when you were honest, focused, and disciplined, and not clamoring for recognition. Perhaps it was a moment when you stopped trying to impress others and simply offered something genuinely helpful. Maybe you weren't striving for victory, but quietly and sincerely solving a real problem. In such moments, success came naturally because your actions stemmed from an inner peace and serenity, the Stoic state where virtue guides action. This doesn't mean that action is pointless. Action remains essential, but action without the right inner foundation drains one's energy. You burn out because you try to replace self-confidence with sheer force. A Stoic knows that willpower alone cannot sustain a weak identity. But when your actions spring from a stable inner foundation, you don't tire, you gain strength. Every decision, every conversation, every step sends the same message. I act out of conviction, not fear. And wealth becomes something that suits your character, not something you desperately chase. Most people try to improve their circumstances by changing their outward behavior. They change jobs, partners, or cities, assuming the new environment will break their old patterns. But nothing changes because the person remains unchanged internally. That's why someone can win the lottery and still lose everything. They never change their core values. Someone with a strong inner identity, on the other hand, can build something from scratch because their wealth doesn't depend on external circumstances, but on their character. So how does one redesign their own identity? A Stoic begins with a simple but powerful question. Who do I want to be in this moment? Ask yourself often, am I behaving like someone who is trying to be chosen by others, or like someone who has already chosen themselves? If your answer is driven by fear, gently adjust it. You don't need perfection. You just need mindfulness. Every time you find your way back to a better sense of self, you strengthen it. Even the awareness of the change is progress. Reinforce this identity through small, consistent actions. A person with an inner sense of abundance doesn't push or seek attention. They act with precision. They don't chase after everyone. They choose wisely. They don't boast. They let their consistent results speak for themselves. Their strength is quiet, yet unmistakable. And it all starts with knowing who you are, not based on the opinions of others, but based on every unconscious decision you make throughout the day. You can start right now. You don't have to change your entire career or your entire life. You just have to change the answer to one question. Who am I if I do that? Let this answer guide your behavior, your tone of voice, your self-talk, and the way you keep your promises. These small decisions shape your identity, and this identity becomes the force that opens opportunities for you. No tricks, no manipulation, no secret strategy. Simply becoming a deeper, more grounded, and more authentic version of yourself. When you live from this inner foundation, success flows naturally, because the world doesn't reward the one who shouts the loudest, but the one whose character strengthens everything they touch. In the end, you will not be paid for the task you performed. You will be paid for who you are while performing the job. And when you truly become a person who possesses genuine, lasting, and irreplaceable value, you will no longer chase after money like a frightened child seeking recognition. A Stoic understands that what is meant to last will last, not through noise but through inner strength. Money begins to stay with you because it recognizes that your character is strong enough to use it wisely. The world naturally gravitates toward those who act with clarity and purpose. Two brothers were born into a poor family on the outskirts of Detroit. They were twins, same face, same height, same voice. They lived under one roof, experienced the same cold winters, and grew up with the same arguments over unpayable bills. They saw their parents skip meals so their younger siblings would have something to eat. They spent their summers washing cars for a few dollars to contribute to the family income. Their childhood memories were identical down to the smallest detail, as if life had written them the same script. 30 years later, the twins' paths diverged. The older twin, Richard, became CEO of a technology company. He leads a company with over 100 employees. He lives in a quiet house by a lake, and spends his weekends reading, playing music, and mentoring young entrepreneurs free of charge. His wealth is no accident. It is the result of 20 years in which he developed a clear philosophy, pursued it with discipline, lived his values even in private, and consistently invested in his intellectual and personal development. His growth was slow, steady, and patient, entirely in the spirit of Stoicism. The younger twin, Robert, works odd jobs in a warehouse. He lives in a small apartment in a rough neighborhood. He frequently changes jobs, sometimes because of arguments with his boss, sometimes out of frustration, sometimes simply because he loses motivation. Often, he has almost no money left at the end of the month. As soon as he gets paid, he treats himself to small pleasures. Fast food, cheap entertainment, things he feels he has earned after a long day. The same old thoughts keep repeating in his head like a broken record. I'm just not good at making money. Rich people are scammers. Nothing works out for someone like me. What's surprising is that Richard and Robert went to the same school, had the same teachers, and used the same tools. Fate had given them the same starting conditions. But at the age of 21, their paths diverged, all because of a single moment. One evening, Richard was sitting in the library reading, "Think and become rich." He paused at one line. "Wealth begins with thinking, not with acting." This sentence hit him like a silent lightning bolt. He wondered, if I don't change my way of thinking, then nothing will change even if I learn every conceivable skill. That night, he wrote a statement that shaped his life. "I will not earn money to escape poverty. I will become the kind of person who attracts money because I create real value." From that day on, Richard began to transform his inner world. He no longer worked solely for his wages, but to develop a new identity, that of a person who acted with discipline, not out of fear. Someone who lived in abundance, not scarcity. Someone who followed reason, not panic. Meanwhile, Robert went home, turned on the television, and laughed at a comedy show. He thought to himself, everything is fine as it is. Overthinking only makes things worse. Whenever Richard tried to talk about mindsets or personal growth, Robert dismissed him. "Keep dreaming. I face reality." What he didn't understand was that his idea of reality was based on unquestioned beliefs. Beliefs born of fear, not reason. He accepted them as truth because they were traditional, not wise. Many believe money comes through luck, connections, or perfect timing. But the Stoic understands something deeper. It all begins with the story you tell yourself. If you secretly believe you're just barely surviving, your decisions will reflect that belief. You'll take jobs that are just enough, avoid challenges, and reject anything that could help you progress. It's not fate, it's your identity. But if you believe you are someone who creates value, who can grow, who possesses dignity and inner strength, even when your pockets are empty, you will behave differently. Even without money, your actions will reflect inner wealth. Richard wasn't more intelligent than Robert. What he had was a new identity, one he practiced daily. Even when he had no money, he trained himself to feel his own worth. When no one supported him, he provided for himself through honest decisions. When he failed, he didn't run away. He asked himself a new question: what would a successful, disciplined person do in this moment? And then he acted. Slowly, the world reacted differently to him, not out of luck, but because he had changed into someone constant, into someone rare, into someone valuable. Robert believed that one big opportunity would save him, but every time an opportunity arose, he shrank back, saying, "I'm not ready yet." His fear didn't stem from a lack of ability, but from a self-image that convinced him he wasn't good enough. He didn't understand that opportunities don't test one's abilities, but rather one's willingness to reinvent oneself. The story of these brothers is not unusual. Millions of people share the same beginning, the same environment, the same resources, but end up leading very different lives because one changed his inner foundations while the other remained true to old beliefs. If you feel lost today or far removed from the life you desire, stop looking for external solutions. Slow down. A Stoic always begins with introspection. Ask yourself, who am I living as right now? If the answer doesn't fill you with pride, don't rush to change your job or strategies. Change the identity behind your decisions. Then act from that identity every day. We live according to what we believe, not according to what we wish. This is a truth that the Stoics repeatedly emphasized. Your inner judgments shape your entire life. Only when you have the courage to believe that you naturally attract good things, including money, will you act in ways that create a powerful impact the world cannot ignore. A river doesn't need permission to flow. It moves because its nature is constant and deep. The same is true of your identity. When it is strong and in harmony with yourself, your life will naturally follow that direction. You don't lack money. What you lack is awareness of the hidden patterns that govern your decisions. These patterns are silent. They don't scream like a warning bell. They creep into your thinking unnoticed. They don't ask for your approval, and yet they form the invisible framework that shapes every one of your financial decisions. How you spend your money, how you save, how you miss good opportunities, and even how you undo your progress as soon as you climb the ladder. None of these are random behaviors. They stem from old thought patterns you've never questioned. The most dangerous thing about this is that you simply mistake these reactions for your personality. You assume that's just how I am, but a Stoic knows better. The mind retains old impressions, like a stone retains warmth long after the fire has gone out. These patterns are not your true self. They are echoes of the past operating in the darkness because you have never exposed them to the light of reason. Example 1. Money is danger. If you've witnessed your family fall into debt, or if you've experienced job insecurity, layoffs, or painful financial losses, your brain may associate money with fear, not with joy, not with opportunity, but with anxiety. Therefore, every time you think about having more money, you don't feel inspired but tense, not because you hate money, but because a part of you remembers chaos and believes that more money also means more risk. So when opportunities arise, hesitate. Once you've finally saved a larger sum, spend it quickly, not out of recklessness, but out of a desire to escape the discomfort of possessing something you fear losing. You're returning to a familiar safety zone, even if it's small, cramped, and stressful. The Stoic truth is, what feels safe isn't always good, and what feels uncomfortable is often the path to personal growth. Example 2. I don't deserve excess. This pattern is extremely common and highly damaging. It often originates in childhood through simple phrases spoken by tired parents or frustrated teachers. Don't be greedy. We are poor, but noble. Rich people are selfish. Subconsciously, one learns to view abundance as something that belongs to others, not to oneself. One begins to associate less with morally good and more with questionable. When someone offers you a high salary, you feel uneasy. When someone praises your abilities, you withdraw. When life bestows something good upon you, you feel the urge to compensate by accepting something bad. In the end, you unconsciously reject precisely what you actually desire. A Stoic would say, you're not rejecting the money, you're rejecting yourself, not because you lack ability, but because you have a distorted view of what you deserve. Pattern 3. To become rich, I must become immoral. If you were raised to believe that money is associated with greed, corruption, or dishonesty, then every step towards success can feel like a betrayal of your own values. You begin to question yourself. Will I become someone I once disliked? Is that wrong? Will others judge me? Will I judge myself? So you limit yourself. You slow down precisely when things are going well. You hold back so as not to appear too successful. You subtly adjust your financial growth to fit the image of yourself you're comfortable with, even if that image is small and outdated. But the Stoic would remind you, wealth doesn't corrupt a virtuous person, and poverty doesn't purify a dishonest one. Money only reveals what's already within you. If your intentions are honorable, then a good income is simply another expression of virtue through work, discipline, and helping others. Pattern 4. The more I try, the more I lose. You haven't finished this pattern yet, but I've expanded it in a Stoic style that matches the rest. This pattern emerges when your past efforts seem to end in disappointment. Perhaps you worked hard in a job but were laid off. Perhaps you saved money and lost it unexpectedly. Perhaps something went wrong every time you tried to improve your life. Therefore, your mind now tries to protect you by saying, don't try too hard, don't set your goals too high, don't hope too much. Your fear disguises itself as wisdom. But the Stoic perspective is clear. Effort is never in vain. Even if results are lacking, your character grows stronger. And character is the one thing the world cannot take away from you. If you shy away from trying, You may avoid losing, but you also avoid winning. You avoid discovering your true strength. You avoid becoming the person you are meant to be. This pattern stems from old wounds. Perhaps you once poured all your energy into a scholarship and still received a no. Perhaps you invested months in a project and someone you trusted turned against you. Perhaps you gave genuine love and ended up heartbroken. From these painful moments, your mind has developed a false rule. Hope leads to disappointment. Effort leads to pain. A Stoic would say this happened because you confused what was within your power with what was outside your control. You believed the outcome was in your hands, and when something went wrong, you blamed yourself instead of accepting the nature of life. This belief paralyzes you from within. It alienates you from your own dreams. You say things like, "I'm just being realistic," or "money isn't that important," or "I only need the bare necessities." But deep down, you once had bigger dreams. You trusted yourself more. Now you're building an invisible fortress to never feel that pain again. Stoicism teaches that pain arises from trying to control the uncontrollable, not from striving for something higher. But this pattern doesn't understand that, and so it continues to narrow your horizons. All these patterns share a common origin. They work silently and subtly, like shadows in a room where the light is never turned on. You don't have to summon them. They appear on their own, every day, with every decision. Every time you think about investing, changing course, taking on something challenging, or starting a new chapter, they pull you back with the same quiet force. The Stoics called this being guided by impressions, letting old stories guide your decisions today. And as long as you don't pause and question them, your life won't change. Only your surroundings. You can change jobs, move to a different city, change relationships, but the internal system that governs your decisions will always repeat the same pattern. A Stoic would say you must return to your inner fortress, to that deep place within you where reason, awareness, and virtue guide your actions. Otherwise, the past will silently determine your destiny. If you want to improve your financial situation, superficial habits alone aren't enough. You need to update your inner programming, the place where automatic thoughts originate. If you notice yourself hesitating, doubting, or missing an opportunity, don't judge yourself. Instead, observe yourself calmly, like a Stoic, observing their own mind. Identify the old belief, understand it, and then formulate a new principle for living. Change money is dangerous. Inside money reflects the value I bring with my consistent character. Change, I don't deserve excess. Inside, I am learning to recognize my own worth every day. Change wealth is corrupt. Inside, prosperity comes from honest discipline. Change exertion leads to pain inside. For me, reaching my full potential means giving my best. Your subconscious is not an enemy. Once it protected you from fear and confusion. It helped you weather storms when you were too young to think clearly. But now you're no longer fighting for survival. You're striving for growth. And growth requires awareness, not old fears. You begin to ascend when you stop letting past hurts dictate your present decisions and start purposefully training your mind, like a Stoic refining their virtues daily. Ultimately, your financial situation rarely depends on your job. Rather, it's shaped by unconscious beliefs, beliefs you're unaware of but which influence everything. You don't lack strength. You don't lack a plan. The problem is simple. You're following an automatic system whose existence you're unaware of. And that system is your subconscious. The subconscious mind is the quietest part of our mind. It doesn't think deeply, it repeats. It doesn't question, it stores. And what is repeated often enough shapes our actions. Neuroscientists have discovered that the majority of our daily actions stem from this automatic realm, not from conscious decision. We don't consciously choose to procrastinate, overspend, miss opportunities, or react rashly. These habits are simply ingrained patterns that our minds follow without question. Where do these patterns come from? From childhood. Before the age of 7, your brain was like soft clay. You absorbed every emotion, every phrase, every attitude towards money, effort, success, and failure without reflection. You didn't choose these ideas. They were simply implanted in you, and they became the fundamental rules that your adult self has followed ever since. As we age, we tend to believe we act logically, but often this only explains decisions already made by the subconscious. A Stoic might say, You are only truly free when you look inward and understand the forces that drive you. Once you do this, once you choose your convictions with calm reason, you can create a life shaped not by old fears, but by conscious and enduring wisdom. If your subconscious believes that money causes stress, you will unconsciously avoid situations that could increase your income, even if you desire a better life. If your subconscious whispers to you, "I'm not good at talking to people," you will feel stiff and insecure every time you need to express yourself. And even if you practice your skills, the old belief that, "I have to work twice as hard to be accepted," you will exhaust yourself, only to find yourself back at the same point. A Stoic clearly recognizes this. If your inner convictions contradict your outer goals, the inner convictions will always prevail. They shape your actions long before you are aware of it. The most unsettling thing about the subconscious mind is its unwavering loyalty. It doesn't decide what's wise or unwise. It doesn't question whether a belief is helpful. It simply protects you based on what you've repeated long enough. If you once shared your thoughts and were ridiculed for them, your subconscious protects you by silencing you. If you once had a big dream and it was crushed, your subconscious protects you by keeping all your dreams small. It means well, like a security guard who can't distinguish between real danger and old memories. It wants to protect you from hurt, but in doing so, it also blocks your growth. And so you wake up every morning with only about 5% of your conscious energy, fighting against the silent 95% that corresponds to old patterns. You set goals, promise yourself change, feel motivated, and then, after a few days, something holds you back. A Stoic would say, "That's not a weakness. That's simply a mind based on habits that have never been questioned." You can't fight an operating system with sheer willpower. You have to understand it. So how do you rise above it? The first step is to observe without prejudice. Every time you notice a familiar reaction, hesitation, fear, retreat, pause and gently ask yourself, where does this come from? Who taught me this? How did it protect me in the past? Does it still protect me today? Stoicism teaches that calmly examining one's own impressions is the beginning of freedom. Open questions illuminate the dark corners of the inner world. The second step involves planting new ideas when your mind is particularly receptive. This happens when your brain is in the theta state, right after waking up or just before falling asleep. Then the door to the subconscious is open. You don't just need to think the new beliefs. You envision yourself acting powerfully, speaking confidently, and creating value instead of hiding from it. You don't rewrite your inner values through force, but through constant, gentle repetition. Just as Marcus Aurelius repeated his meditations every morning to train his mind. The third step is action. Not spectacular actions, but consistent action. The subconscious mind doesn't change through thinking alone. It changes when you behave the way you want to be, even if your voice trembles, even if old patterns try to pull you back. With each courageous step, you pave a new path in your thinking. When you invest in your personal growth instead of allowing yourself to be distracted, you show your subconscious that a new identity is taking shape. Change takes time, but it will surely arrive when your actions align with your values. No one explains how your subconscious mind works, yet it controls almost everything you do. As long as you don't understand this inner power, you'll act according to old patterns. But as soon as you confront it, not with fear, not with shame, but with calm awareness, you can reshape everything. You don't need luck. You don't need a different job. You need a different way of acting at the deepest level of your being. Because ultimately, you don't live by what you knowledge, you live off what you have programmed. And once you realize that 95% of your everyday behavior is not determined by fate, but is due to outdated thought patterns, you hold the key to redesigning your financial, emotional, and personal future. No one is born with a poverty code. Babies don't come into the world with the intention of, "I will have to fight." But as we grow up, we internalize beliefs from family, culture, fears, and past experiences. The problem isn't the circumstances. People overcome challenges every day. The real danger lies in mistaking those circumstances for our own identity. Then the pattern of poverty becomes active, silent, subtle, and so familiar that we mistake it for our very being. Breaking this plan doesn't begin with changing your actions. Actions are the end result. The plan itself is the original concept. If you're living below your potential, hesitating when opportunities arise, or wasting energy on vague financial worries, it doesn't mean you lack talent. It simply means an old pattern is running within you, one that is repeatedly triggered unconsciously. And the first 3 Stoic steps to dissolving this inner structure are: observe, identify, reconstruct. Step 1. Observe. Blueprints don't exist in your conscious thoughts. They're hidden in your automatic reactions. You don't think, "I will avoid this task because I am afraid of failing." You simply open your phone and scroll instead of sending the message. You don't think, "I am afraid of success because it feels uncertain." One simply forgets to seize the opportunity. Stoicism calls for observing these reflexes like passing clouds, not judgmentally, but with clarity. We rarely think aloud, "I'm not good enough." Instead, we silently reject opportunities and call it knowing my limits. This silence is a reflex stemming from old thought patterns. Observation is the first step that makes us conscious agents again, and not victims of habit. A Stoic observes their impressions. They ask themselves, "What does my body do when a new opportunity presents itself? Where do I feel tightness in my chest? What excuses creep into my mind? Who taught me this reaction?" Observation doesn't mean blaming someone. It means distancing oneself from reality. When you recognize a behavior and say, "That's a pattern, not me," you regain freedom of choice. You stop adhering to predetermined patterns and begin to act autonomously. Step 2. Identify. Name the pattern after you have observed it. Patterns don't like being recognized. Their power diminishes as soon as they are named. For example, do you spend all your money as soon as it arrives? Call it, "Money comes and goes." Do you refuse salary increases or promotions? State your reason. "I don't earn anymore." Do you feel uncomfortable around successful people? State it. "Wealth is not benevolent." Do you avoid taking the lead? Identify it. Those who stand out provoke attacks. These behavioral patterns didn't arise from logic. They stemmed from isolated moments: a casual remark by a parent, a teacher's mockery, a painful loss. The mind stored the event, linked it to a negative feeling, and developed a rule to avoid pain. Identification establishes the connection between the current reaction and its origin. Once this connection is recognized, one understands that the pattern isn't true. It's a survival habit that developed in times of limited information. Step 3. Reconstruct. This is a slow but steady process. Reprogramming isn't based on a single heroic act, but on small daily changes. Follow 3 practical steps. 1. A new language. Speak into each day the person you want to be. Replace, "I'm not good with money" with, "I'm learning to be wise with money." Replace, "I'm not used to having more" with, "I'm becoming someone who calmly accepts abundance." Words are gateways to feelings. Speak them until they feel more familiar. Second, small changes in behavior. Do the things you used to avoid. Not all at once, just one small step. If you've been putting off sending invoices, send one today. If you've been putting off checking your bank balance, open it and look at it with an open mind. Every new decision is a testament to your subconscious. I am no longer the version of myself I used to be. Through repetition, the new path becomes thicker and easier to walk on. Third, synchronized emotions. Change is not only cognitive but also emotional. When you visualize new images, associate them with ease and calm confidence. Imagine money arriving and feel relief, not shame. Take a deep breath and smile as you imagine yourself calmly handling the growth. Emotions are the link between the image in your mind and your nervous system, which governs your day. Reconstruction doesn't mean erasing memories. It means re-examining them from a higher perspective. You are no longer the frightened child shamed for their dreams. You are the adult who can encounter that memory, thank it for its attempt to protect you, and benevolently choose a wiser rule. The Stoics call this transforming impressions into judgments. You recognize what happened, accept it, and then act rationally. Have patience. Day by day, the pattern of poverty loses its power. It's a pattern, not fate. Patterns can be rewritten. Start by identifying the pattern and changing one small behavior today. Repeat it. Remain calm and composed. Let your life reflect the person you are practicing to be. Remember, money doesn't come from frantic pursuit. It arises from consistency. Wealthy people don't become rich through frantic striving. They create space, inner space, where money can flow and be used wisely. They remain steadfast. They don't strive for recognition. They act from a stable center. So, observe without shame. Name things without drama. Rebuild with small, honest acts. Live quietly and consistently as the person you want to be. This is the Stoic way to change not only your actions, but also your being. And when your being changes, everything else follows naturally. Stoics don't cling to things. They accept life as it comes. They open their hands instead of grasping fearfully, and this simple gesture of receiving is a hidden skill most people never learn. Many grow up with a confused mindset. If you want money, you have to hunt it like a wild animal. Chase after rich people. Chase opportunities. Chase applause. Chase goals until you don't even know why you're running. But the more you chase these things, the more they slip away, because deep inside a feeling of emptiness arises, and money never finds purchase in a place that feels empty or desperate. Money stays with people who are at peace with themselves and feel worthy of accepting what life gives them. If you observe a truly wealthy person, you'll notice something. They don't speak frantically, but with composure. They don't chase after money or beg for attention. They focus on giving something meaningful to the world and then let the rewards come naturally, just as nature sows what it sows. For them, money is a result, not the meaning of life. They believe that money will follow if they become a source of value through skill, character, and good decisions. And if it comes at the right time and honestly, it will stay for a long time. When you're constantly chasing after things, your perspective becomes blurred. You treat your time as if it were cheap. You repeatedly push yourself beyond your limits. You diminish your self-worth just to make a quick buck. You say things like, "I need money," without realizing that you're putting yourself in the position of a beggar instead of attracting someone who attracts money. And without realizing it, you're pushing money away, even though you think you're getting closer to it. So what does it really mean to accept money stoically? First and foremost, it means allowing yourself to handle money without fear. Many people dream of wealth, but deep down, they've never given themselves permission. They fear envy, pressure, lies, or exploitation. They believe money only brings trouble. Thus, their minds close the door long before the money even attempts to enter. Receiving is not simply a logical idea. It begins with a silent inner agreement. I handle money responsibly. I don't have to lose my dignity, my values, or myself to deal with this. A wise Stoic understands that money doesn't change who you are. It merely reveals it more clearly. If you are kind, money opens up more opportunities to be kind. If you lead a meaningful life, money helps you pursue that meaning even further. Acceptance means acknowledging what is rightfully yours without guilt. Perhaps you are well paid for your work and immediately feel uncomfortable. Perhaps someone tells you your service is worth its price and you immediately try to negotiate a lower rate. Perhaps you constantly steer people toward cheaper alternatives, even when they are willing to pay for your best work. That isn't humility. It blocks acceptance. People who are good with money don't do that. They give openly, but they also receive fully because they understand that the world needs balance. You can't exhale forever without inhaling, and you can't just give without being willing to receive what comes back. A healthy sense of well-being is a sign of a stable internal system. Thirdly, receiving money means neither idolizing nor hating it. Many fall into extremes. Some chase after money so relentlessly that they forget themselves. Others claim money is evil and treat it like poison. Both views are distorted. Those who handle money wisely see it like air, important, useful, but nothing to panic about or bow down to. They don't define their identity by it, nor do they reject it out of fear. They let money serve their goals, not control their minds. And thanks to this serene attitude, money remains, just as water settles in a calm bowl. If you feel like you have to fight for every chance, every payment, every bit of progress, gently ask yourself, what feeling am I sending out into the world? Is it fear, a lack, doubt about your own worth? If so, it doesn't mean you're broken. It simply means that no one has taught you how to accept. That's not a failure. You just need practice, and you can start right now. Start with 3 simple practices, like tell yourself every morning with calm strength, I am someone money can trust. Money finds me because I stand by my worth. 2. When money comes in, pay attention to your feelings. If guilt, anxiety, or discomfort arise, note down the trigger. This is a sign of an inner knot that needs to be untied. 3. Practice receiving attention in everyday life. If someone praises you, don't shy away. Accept it. If someone gives you a gift, accept it gratefully and without embarrassment. When you state your price, do so clearly and confidently. Truly wealthy people aren't luckier than you. They simply act with clearer and more established inner habits. They receive with dignity, give consciously, and stand by themselves without denying their worth. These are Stoic virtues that you can acquire step by step. Stoics understand that money behaves like energy. It naturally flows where it is consistently welcomed, not where it is anxiously demanded. If you want to live in abundance, don't try to chase money like a desperate hunter. Instead, cultivate your character so profoundly, so clearly, and so serenely that money perceives you as a permanent home, a place where it is safe to settle, grow, and multiply. Wealth is not created through frantic activity. It begins with an inner state, a state in which you stop chasing money and learn to receive it with dignity. Your inner self is the first step towards prosperity. Before you worry about your bank account or the numbers you want to achieve, ask yourself, what inner space have I prepared? Many people make grand plans but forget to give themselves space, and here's a simple truth that's often overlooked. Money can't enter a space filled with old emotions, fears, and beliefs that no longer serve you. Money avoids chaos. It avoids a storm-tossed mind. The space of prosperity isn't an empty hole. It's a conscious state of readiness, a calm inner space where money, opportunities, and new ideas feel safe. Those who manage money wisely understand this. They don't fill every minute with tasks to prove their worth. They know how to create space, mental, emotional, and physical space. And from this space, new ideas arise naturally. Helpful people come into their lives. Income comes from unexpected directions. Life doesn't work like a marketplace where you can attract attention by shouting. It's more like a garden. First, you prepare the soil, weed the earth, and loosen the soil. Only then can good seeds be sown. So what exactly is this prosperity zone? First of all, it's about space in your mind. A mind trapped in worry, fear, judgment, and obsession cannot perceive quiet opportunities. One cannot recognize chances when the inner voice repeats old limitations, such as "I can't." That's not for someone like me. Money is always out of reach. Pay attention to your first thoughts each morning. Are they filled with confidence or panic? Clear your mind like a Stoic clearing away unnecessary impressions, calmly and daily. Sit in silence for 10 minutes. Let your mind breathe. Write down 3 things you are open to today. Give your intuition space to speak, instead of getting lost in the noise of your thoughts. Secondly, it provides space for your feelings. Many people carry emotional wounds from the past, moments when they were exploited for their money, judged for their lack, cheated in business, or hurt by risky decisions. These experiences pile up like stones in the heart, and you can't embrace new wealth when your feelings are steeped in old pain. The Stoics knew that emotional clarity means strength. Money amplifies your energy. If you're inwardly unstable, wealth becomes a burden instead of a help. Practice forgiveness, not to excuse others, but to liberate yourself. Every heavy emotion you release creates space for new prosperity. Thirdly, it's about free space in your schedule and activities. The Stoics didn't believe in constant noise or endless busyness. They valued deliberate action. Money doesn't belong to the most exhausted, but to the one who sees clearly. And you don't see clearly when every minute is planned. Create space in your daily life, not to be lazy, but to observe and reflect. Sometimes a quiet morning spent reading just 1 page can change your entire way of thinking. A short break in the afternoon can spark a conversation that changes your life. Eliminate one unnecessary habit or task each day. Every time you do this, you open a new path to new possibilities. Fourthly, it's about space in your physical environment. Look around your room. Is it crammed with old things, messy corners, piles of paper, or items you don't need? Your external space often reflects your inner state. A cluttered home signals to your mind, there's no room for anything new here. The Stoics didn't need empty houses, but they valued order. They knew that every object has weight, not physical, but spiritual. And if your surroundings are cluttered with things that no longer serve you, then a part of you is still rooted in the past and unable to move forward. Start small. Begin with a drawer, a corner of your desk, or even a small part of your wallet. Every time you tidy up, you're making a silent statement. I am ready to take in more. Creating space doesn't make you poorer. It liberates you, gives you peace, and helps you embrace what's good for your life. Our cup must be empty before it can hold water. Similarly, your life needs space so that good things can flow in. The Stoics understood this concept very well. Space in your environment creates space in your soul. The brightest minds in finance, just like the ancient Stoics, take moments of silence not to escape work, but to reconnect with their inner voice that guides their actions. They know that success comes not from constant activity, but from clarity. And clarity arises when the mind is at rest. You can practice this daily. Every morning before you pick up your phone and allow yourself to be distracted by the world, take a few minutes to organize your thoughts. Write down the fears and doubts that are troubling you. Then let them go. Tear up the paper, burn it safely, or simply throw it away as a symbol of liberation. Each week, choose one object in your home that no longer represents the person you want to become. Let it go without clinging to it. Each month, dedicate one day to simply observing your life. Ask yourself, what behaviors are hindering my progress? Who is taking up space in my life without helping me become a wiser and more prosperous self? Stoicism teaches us to eliminate the unnecessary so that the essential can take effect. Money does not belong to the one who tries to do everything himself, but to the one who paves the way. And the space you create today isn't just for money. It's for you shed your old identity, shaped by fear and lack. You evolve into a calmer, stronger, and more open version of yourself. Someone who can receive abundance without fear. Every thought you think sends out a kind of signal. It leaves a subtle impression on your inner world. When practiced correctly, meditation becomes more than just a relaxation technique. It becomes a Stoic exercise in training your attention, choosing your inner state, and directing your mind instead of being controlled by it. And something unusual happens when you meditate intentionally. You begin to attract opportunities without exhausting yourself. Most people meditate like a weary mind seeking rest, forcing silence and then becoming frustrated when it doesn't come. But those who understand abundance approach meditation differently. They don't meditate to escape stress. They meditate to align their inner state with the kind of life they want to lead. They know that as their inner world changes, so does the outer world. The Stoics believed the same thing. Change your mind, and the world changes with it. So how can meditation not only help you find inner peace, but also lead to prosperity? Step 1. Choose a calmer state of mind. When you're busy, stressed, or lost in thought, your mind remains tense. While this state is good for solving problems, it's not conducive to gaining clarity or seizing opportunities. To align yourself with abundance, you need to slow down your thoughts. When the mind quiets, intuition awakens. The subconscious becomes accessible. You can finally perceive the ideas and insights that were lost in the noise of your thoughts. This is where creativity flourishes, and money no longer feels distant, but perfectly natural. Step 2. Visualize with emotions, not just with images. Many people believe their imagination is enough. They picture the house or the car and hope it will become reality. But the universe and your subconscious doesn't respond to empty images. It responds to the underlying emotion. If you try to imagine wealth but secretly feel fear, inadequacy, or doubt, this inner feeling becomes your true message, and life reflects exactly what you feel. Instead, visualize it in a quiet moment, not strenuously, but with the feeling that you are already living this reality. You don't need every detail. Simply hold on to the feeling: confidence, freedom, peace, competence. When your feelings align with the life you desire, you stop pretending and begin to create your inner world. Step 3. Give your subconscious mind simple but effective commands. When your mind becomes calm, the gateway to your subconscious opens. That's when your inner dialogue is most effective. Don't say, "I will be rich." That'll make you wait. Say instead, "I am open to abundance. I effortlessly attract opportunities. I handle money wisely." These are not just words, they are instructions inscribed in your inner programming. Through repetition, They become the default thoughts that guide your decisions. Step 4. Add the body. Meditation is more than just a mental exercise. Your body needs to feel safe, relaxed, and open. Shallow breathing, tension or nervousness signal danger to your inner voice instead of readiness. Breathe slowly and consciously. Relax every muscle. Let your body come to rest. When the body rests, the mind follows. When both rest simultaneously, you create a grounded, stable space where abundance is welcomed and not threatened. Money finds no fertile ground for tension. It thrives in people who have created a calm, balanced inner world, a place where prosperity feels secure. A Stoic knows that nothing stable can flourish in a restless mind. The same is true of wealth. It rests in those who have learned to be grounded, patient, and centered. 5th step, practice regularly, like a philosopher practices discipline. Don't meditate only when you have the time. Think of it like brushing your teeth, something you do daily because it cleanses your inner world. Wise people know that the outer world is merely a reflection of the inner one. They protect their inner space just as they protect their savings. They understand that every action becomes more difficult, arduous, and fraught with resistance when the mind is restless. You don't need hours, 15 or 20 quiet minutes each morning, while you're still between sleep and wakefulness are enough, or a short practice session before bed when the mind winds down and the boundary between consciousness and unconsciousness blurs. These moments are precious. They allow you to shape your inner atmosphere before the world shapes it for you. Remember, you are not rewarded solely for effort. It all depends on your state of being. Stoics would say that your inner order shapes your outer happiness. Your vibration isn't found in loud words or dramatic actions. It resides in your body, your breath, your feelings, and the inner peace you maintain daily. Meditation helps you align yourself with the clarity, self-confidence, and stability, upon which good opportunities arise naturally. Once you reach this state of inner peace, you stop chasing money. It finds you because your actions become more ethical, your decisions more decisive, and your presence more trustworthy. You no longer act like someone hoping for wealth, but attract it naturally. This is Stoic prosperity, not luck, but the alignment of your character with your life's path. You don't need anyone to tell you your worth. Just look at your current income. It reflects more clearly than words what you subconsciously believe about yourself. Money doesn't insult or praise, it reflects. If you believe you only deserve a certain amount, your earnings will reflect that belief. If you believe suffering is necessary to earn something, your work will always feel like a burden. Money doesn't come automatically because you're kind or hardworking. It comes when you radiate calm confidence. Like a Stoic convinced of their principles, if your inner message is, "I deserve a fair and full reward," you can't attract a fulfilling life if you secretly think you're not worthy of it. Someone who says things like, "I only need enough to survive," or "I'm not good at it," that's not modesty. They're narrowing their inner horizons and teaching their subconscious to be content with less. And money reacts immediately to these limitations. Look back at your financial decisions. Have you ever passed up an opportunity because you felt unprepared? Have you ever settled for less because you were afraid to ask for more? Have you ever done more work than others without talking about it? These moments had nothing to do with the market. They stemmed from your inner self-image. To change your financial situation, you don't need new skills first. You need a new inner vision. You need to stand before your true mirror, the results in your life, and ask yourself, what does my current income say about what I believe I am worth? The answer may feel uncomfortable, but discomfort is often the starting point for freedom. Wealthy people don't just work more intelligently. They value themselves, they respect their time, they trust their ideas, they consider their presence significant. This conviction creates an attraction that motivates others to invest in them, collaborate with them, and pay them well. They don't pretend to be important. They don't need to. They go through life like people who know their own worth. If you want to improve your financial situation, start with how you talk to yourself, how you see yourself, and how you treat yourself. When you approach things with the quiet confidence of a Stoic, calm, prepared, disciplined, and dignified, your outer world will begin to align with your inner one. A Stoic doesn't haggle with themselves every morning. They don't wake up and immediately choose the cheapest or smallest option because they've convinced themselves they don't deserve anything better. Stoics understand that every small decision is an opportunity to practice virtue. So start with simple actions. Choose a higher quality item not out of pride, but because you refuse to live in fear. Adopt an attitude that radiates steadfastness. Enter a room with quiet awareness. Wherever I go, I bring added value, because my character accompanies me. And most importantly, don't wait to have more money to feel valuable. A Stoic knows that value begins in the mind long before it shows up in the bank. Live now as if you respect yourself, and the external rewards will follow. This isn't pretending. It's about training the inner self. From someone who begs for approval to someone who stands firmly by themselves. If you see someone earning 10 times as much as you, don't be envious. Ask the wiser question. What inner conviction makes them believe they belong at this level? And then remember this. I can learn that. I can acquire that skill. Stoicism teaches that we shape ourselves through practice and intention. Money doesn't come to make you happy. It reflects the value you place on yourself. And when you increase that inner value, not because you're perfect, but because you recognize your potential, your outer life changes naturally, not because you try harder, but because you stop acting as if you're unworthy of good things. You can start right now. No permission required. No big step needed. Simply begin by consciously observing your relationship to every transaction, every thought as you look in your wallet, and every casual remark about your finances. Ask yourself, what message am I sending to the universe about my worth? The mirror of your financial reality doesn't lie, but the good news is, you always have the power to change that reflection, and the Stoic path begins with inner transformation. A Stoic also understands that wealth isn't just about money. It's about how you value your time, your presence, and your ideas. People who treat themselves with dignity naturally improve their financial situation, not because they're trying to make themselves important, but because they know their worth doesn't depend on the opinions of others. If you want to improve your financial status, start by improving your inner voice, your self-image, and how you treat yourself. This isn't vanity, it's discipline of the soul. So don't negotiate with yourself. Don't belittle yourself. Choose what suits your character and your true potential. The 7-day Stoic restart phase. On the first day, you just observe. In every moment where money is involved, whether you think about it, talk about it, or touch it, pay attention to your reaction. Do you feel fear, anxiety, shame, desire? A Stoic doesn't judge these feelings. They observe them calmly. You can't change a signal you don't want to perceive. On the second day, one frees oneself from old beliefs. Sit down alone, be quiet, and write down every limiting statement you have ever accepted regarding money. Rich people cheat. I'm not good with numbers. I only need the bare necessities to survive. Each of these beliefs is like a rope that has bound your behavior for years. When you've finished writing, read each one and say to yourself, I decide to publish this. This is not a tragedy. It is a Stoic break with the past, cutting off what no longer serves either reason or virtue. On the third day, you create a new inner image. Imagine yourself balanced, calm, and financially secure, not because the world is perfect, but because you've trained yourself internally to be that way. Imagine yourself not rushing, not panicking, and not withdrawing, not a wishful fantasy, but the version that feels natural and that you deserve. Keep this image in mind every morning when you wake up, every time you spend money, and every moment you feel like acting out of fear. Tell yourself, this is my true nature. I am returning to who I should be. On the fourth day, you take action. Grand gestures aren't necessary. Stoicism values small, disciplined steps. Pay a bill with gratitude, not resentment. Consciously give a small amount of money to someone in need. Decline an offer that disregards your worth. Every action sends a message to your subconscious. I now live at a higher standard. Actions anchor identity. On the fifth day, you look in the mirror, but in a different way. Not to check your hair or clothes, but to express your true self. I am a valuable person. Money is simply the world's reaction to that value. It may feel strange, but don't stop. The subconscious doesn't need proof. It needs repetition, and repetition is the Stoic's greatest ally in character building. One day, without any force, you will feel your body accept the words you have repeated. not through magic, but because you have chosen to nurture your courage more often than your fear. A Stoic knows that the mind develops in the direction it practices daily, and when your inner voice becomes calm, constant, and honest, your body will eventually follow. On the 6th day, you clean your room, not just to create order, but to reflect a clearer inner world. An overstuffed wallet, old papers, or a messy desk are not simply objects. They are signs of inner confusion, of a distracted mind trapped in old patterns. The Stoic tidies their space to signal to themselves, I am preparing for a new chapter. Prosperity, opportunity, and clarity don't thrive where energy is stagnant. They need space, both within you and around you. By clearing away clutter, you create a path for the person you want to become. On the 7th day, one gives thanks, not in a hurry, not with forced emotions. Simply sit quietly, breathe deeply, and be grateful with a peaceful heart. Be grateful for what you have and for what you expect, not through wishful thinking, but through confident discipline. A Stoic knows that gratitude is not a weakness. It is strength. It is the ability to recognize that the universe has already given you everything you need to grow. Say quietly to yourself, thank you for making me change. I am grateful that new opportunities are opening up for me. I am grateful that I am living in accordance with the inner state I have chosen. When you show gratitude without needing a reason, you reach a different state. The state of a person who no longer waits to prove themselves worthy, but already lives in their own worth. This cannot be faked. The world does not respond to hypocrisy. Yet just 7 days of genuine inner harmony can bring about a change within you, a growing, calm self-confidence that is not dependent on luck or recognition. The true miracle doesn't happen externally. The true miracle occurs when you finally decide to believe. I can give my life a new direction. I can start with myself. I can begin now. You don't have to wait for success to behave like a successful person. Stoically speaking, you don't wait for virtue to manifest itself before acting virtuously. You act first, and character is formed through action. Every decision you make sends a message to your subconscious, and your subconscious will do everything in its power to ensure you remain true to the identity it has trained you to cultivate. When you make decisions out of fear, you tell your mind that you are small, powerless, and worthless. However, when you make decisions that reflect faith in your future self, you send a different message. I am already that person. I'm simply living according to my true nature. And slowly, your financial life, your opportunities, and even your posture begin to change in the direction of this identity. Imagine for a moment, you were already financially independent, possessed strong self-esteem and inner peace. How would you deal with today's problem? How would you react to rejection? Which path would you choose among the unclear options? Would you accept a small gain at the expense of your long-term value? A Stoic thinks in terms of lasting stability, not temporary comfort. Most people make decisions out of fear. They ask themselves, what if I do something wrong? What if I lose? What if it doesn't work? People with inner strength, the kind cultivated by Stoics, ask different questions. What do I lose if I don't dare to try? Does this decision align with the image of the person I want to become? This simple change in the question fundamentally alters the result. Your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between reality and performance. It only reacts to the emotional state you constantly project. If you behave every day like someone barely surviving, your life will continue to reflect that signal. But if you begin calmly, serenely, without exaggeration, to live confidently, prosperously, and wisely, even before you have achieved everything you desire, then this new identity will begin to transform your life's path. Action is the beginning of success, not the reward for it. You don't have to spend money like a rich person to think like one. It's enough to manage your time respectfully, patiently endure setbacks, and speak to yourself with dignity. A Stoic doesn't rely on luck or excuses, but on their inner order. When obstacles arise, the average person retreats and looks for excuses. But someone who lives in harmony with their future, someone guided by Stoic principles, sees the challenge as an opportunity to refine their strategy. When they see others succeed, those trapped in envy think, "You are lucky." But someone who has a disciplined inner life says, "Their success is a sign of what is also possible for me if I continue to act purposefully. If you wish, I can continue and write an 8th day and further Stoic steps in the same style. Strangely enough, something inside you changes as soon as you start acting as if you've already achieved something. Your decisions change, your attitude changes, your discipline grows. You no longer accept offers that hinder your long-term growth, even if they promise short-term relief. You begin to choose what strengthens your character, not what gives you a moment of relief. And slowly, you learn to say a courageous no and a conscious yes. Every small step carries a quiet message. I no longer live according to old habits. I live from the future I have already chosen. This is not fantasy. For the Stoics, this is the way to train the mind, through repeated action. One doesn't wait for faith to magically arise. One acts consistently, and faith grows from the discipline of one's own decisions. Imagine an actor stepping onto a stage. At first, he merely imitates the character, but after countless rehearsals, something natural happens. He stops acting, become the role. And the same thing happens to you. If you always behave the way you want to be, calm, confident, wise, disciplined, there comes a point where there's no more effort. You're simply playing the role, are this version of yourself in every action, every word, and even in the atmosphere around you. Ask yourself, who will I be when I have money? And do I dare to live as that person right now, even before the money arrives? If your answer is yes, every step you take will reflect the reality you create. You don't chase success, you practice it. That alone attracts the right opportunities, not through luck, but because your inner state has changed and the outer world reflects that. A clear mind cannot hide. A consistent presence cannot be ignored. You're not really chasing money. You're seeking a state of being. This state has many names: freedom, peace, dignity, abundance. If you mistake money for the goal, you end up sacrificing your values, your time, even your joy. And in the end, you lose precisely the feeling you hoped money would bring you. People with financial maturity never see money as their salvation. They understand that money merely reflects the degree of inner order. Therefore, wealth is not a goal for a truly Stoic person. Rather, wealth is a natural consequence of self-control. This is clearly evident in the cases of lottery winners or heirs to large sums of money. Within a few years, most are back where they started. Some even find themselves in a worse situation. Why? Because the money entered a mind unprepared to handle it. Their external gain outweighed their inner strength, and like a raging river refusing to stay contained in a broken vessel, money flows away from those who lack the boundaries or discipline to control it. Now you understand why some people earn a lot and yet feel anxious and empty. Outwardly they appear wealthy, but inwardly they feel poor. Their mindset is trapped in a cycle of lack, and their external wealth cannot soothe them. Inner maturity doesn't come with age. It comes from the ability to understand one's own motives, to take responsibility for one's actions, and to confront one's fears instead of letting them control you. Some people seem to strive for success, but secretly try to gain the approval of someone from their past. Others appear ambitious, but deep down they are running from a fear. The fear of poverty, the fear of being ignored, the fear of loneliness. If your motives remain unexamined, you will lose the money again, even if it comes your way, because your subconscious will continue to send signals of insecurity. Those who are truly wealthy begin their wealth within. They seek clarity instead of distraction. They build strength instead of dependence. They don't have to prove anything to anyone. Their serenity speaks for itself. And because they are grounded, opportunities that align with their values naturally attract them, without manipulation or intrigue. Inner maturity is revealed in the ability to say no to tempting but pointless offers. It is revealed in the capacity to dwell in silence without immediately seeking distractions. It is revealed in the ability to feel valued without needing success, because this feeling is already deeply rooted within one's being. And it is this quiet strength that consistently brings good things, not just in the short term. So if you really want to become rich, ask yourself, how mature am I in dealing with failure? Are you still blaming the world, or are you learning from your experiences and moving forward humbly? Do you have the patience to plant seeds without expecting them to grow overnight? Is it possible to remain consistent without constant rewards? Do you stick to your values even when no one is watching or praising you? That is the true measure of a stable inner life. If your answer is yes, you're already ahead of most people. And the truth is simple: if you focus on becoming wiser and stronger inwardly, instead of chasing after external things, then money, friendships, health, and recognition will naturally follow. You don't have to chase after them like someone running in circles. A person who has trained their mind and shaped their character becomes like a steady flame, still but undeniable. That's not luck. That's inner alignment. Stoically speaking, you live virtuously, and virtue always brings harmony. Your inner strength is the only treasure no one can steal from you. When you invest in it, when you train your thoughts, your reactions, and your habits, everything else falls into place like pieces of a puzzle. That's why thinkers like Napoleon Hill and the ancient Stoics are essentially saying the same thing. You must become the kind of person who attracts success before it arrives. The real question isn't where you are today, but in which direction your mind is developing. Are you moving toward discipline, courage, patience, and wisdom? Are you choosing the kind of growth that truly transforms you? Wealth is not the goal. It is a signpost, a reminder that your inner development takes shape in the outer world. When you know what matters, what is real, and what aligns with your highest values, you don't have to force anything. You simply strengthen yourself from within, and the world responds. Everything else falls into place naturally, like shadows that follow the body that casts them. Think of a seed. No seed becomes a tree the moment it touches the earth. All living things begin in the dark. You can't see the growth, but that doesn't mean it isn't happening. Bamboo can remain underground for years, developing a vast root system before it even breaks through the surface. Then suddenly it shoots upwards faster than almost any other plant. That's how life works too. Every major change requires a period of stillness, a time to learn, adapt, fail, try again, and grow quietly. But most give up during this hidden phase. They believe they've chosen the wrong path because nothing seems to be happening outwardly. They expect quick results, quick praise, quick rewards. They judge themselves too soon, forgetting that inner change always precedes outward proof. So they dig up the seed, search for signs of life, and destroy precisely what they themselves have planted. If you find yourself in a phase where no one is applauding you, no money is flowing, and the path ahead seems slow and unclear, understand something important. This is not failure. It's a phase of consolidation before expansion. You're putting down roots. Once your roots are strong, you no longer need to force your way to the top or prove anything to anyone. You will grow naturally, like a tree that grows because it has no other choice. The growth phase isn't a time for reaping rewards. It's a time to become a different person, someone who has deeply internalized lessons, someone who no longer reacts automatically to every fear or emotion, someone humble enough to start over when necessary. One day you will step into the light, not as an imitation of someone else, but as your true self, steadfast, thoughtful, serene. You can't make time bloom. You can only nurture the soil, nourish your mind with good habits, weed out the weeds of fear and comparison, and trust that if the seed and the effort are right, the seed will sprout. But if you change course every time you get nervous, you tear the seed apart before it even has a chance. Stoic maturity means remaining calm on days without progress and still believing in the good that is unfolding. Nature doesn't rush. The seasons arrive when they are ready. Every true success goes through a period of stagnation during which the roots grow deeper. If you learn, practice, fail, doubt, and yet still move forward, you are exactly where you are meant to be. Don't give up. Don't demand haste. Every small step strengthens you for the next big leap. There is a strange power that reveals itself only to those who can dwell in the darkness without losing their way. This is inner strength, the shield that protects you from pride when things are going well, and from fear when things get tough. When you honor your growth phase, you stop rushing and comparing yourself to others. You understand that everyone blossoms in their own time, and a flower that blooms in its proper season never has to struggle to shine. Napoleon Hill said that success never comes without preparation. The Stoics taught the same truth centuries before. If you are in the preparation phase, be grateful for it. Don't try to blossom without roots. Don't try to reap before you have properly sown. Don't judge yourself solely based on your current situation. The most important change is happening within you every day. And when the time is right, You won't have to beg for attention or force anything. Life makes room for those who have prepared thoroughly and honestly. When you respect your hidden phase of life, you show that you are finally mature enough for true wealth. Not just money, but also peace, self-confidence, and stability. When you no longer need to rush, boast, or prove yourself, then you are strong. And from this strength, opportunities, trust, partners, money, and stability will arise naturally. Not because someone has given them to you, but because your character has become strong enough to bear them. Money isn't just paper or numbers. It behaves like energy, like light or electricity. It reacts to the signal you send out. If your signal is fear, worry, or despair, then money will come and go like a bird that refuses to land. But if your signal is calm, clear, and constant, if it comes from inner strength, then money will come to you with trust and stay with you because it recognizes the order in your inner world. When you act from serenity and trust instead of fear, your entire aura changes. Stoically speaking, your judgments become clearer, your desires calmer, and your actions begin to align with your highest values. And when your actions are guided by virtue rather than panic, the good things naturally remain with you. Money is no exception. It stays with the person whose mind is stable, disciplined, and prepared, not because the universe favors them, but because a stable mind uses resources wisely. Along this path, you have encountered ancient but often forgotten ideas. You have learned that money responds not only to effort, but also to the character behind that effort. The Stoics have always taught that it is not what you do, but your inner state that determines the quality of your results. You don't have to chase after wealth. You have to become someone who handles wealth with wisdom. Even the statement, "I have no money," becomes more than just a complaint. It becomes a conviction that is reinforced, an opinion that is repeated, a judgment that is nurtured. And the Stoics warn that repeated thoughts shape character. When you speak as if you lack something, you train your mind to perceive lack. You close your hands before you can place anything in them. You've learned to pay attention to your true feelings whenever you think about money. This is important because your emotional reaction reveals your inner state. Are you calm or tense, grateful or anxious, confident or ashamed? These reactions show you exactly what kind of signal you're sending. And if you want to achieve a different outcome in life, the Stoics advise begin with judgment. Begin with yourself. Change your judgments and your actions will follow. Change your perspective on your worth and your habits will change. Wealth doesn't come to make you valuable. It comes when you already know your worth, when you've developed enough inner strength to possess resources without being controlled by them. Money becomes money in the hands of those who create true value, quietly, consistently, and without hypocrisy. When you know whom you serve, what you contribute, and why your work matters, you no longer need tricks or empty promises. Your character becomes your invitation. People sense it, opportunities sense it. This is the Stoic interpretation of resonance. Your virtue attracts that which corresponds to it. They've also seen that truly wealthy people aren't always the busiest or most frantic. They aren't driven by fear. They act thoughtfully, not rashly. They make decisions slowly and wisely. They say no more often than yes, because they know their time, energy, and attention are part of their character. And by protecting these things, money becomes a reward, not a distraction. Where you stand now is irrelevant. What matters is the direction of your growth. What matters is the signal you send from now on. No one, no system, no obstacle can stop the prosperity of a clear-thinking, responsible, and disciplined resource manager. Stoic maturity makes you a good manager, not a dependent. You don't have to shout loudly for money. You have to live as if you knew you could handle wealth wisely. You don't have to beg. You have to live in accordance with your values. In the Stoic worldview, the world reacts to the quality of your character. It's not the noise you make that counts. Life doesn't betray anyone who acts out of truth, courage, and integrity. The question is no longer, how do I get money? But what is my inner attitude every day? Are your decisions guided by abundance or by old fears you haven't yet questioned? Do you speak about money with gratitude or with distress? Do you invest in yourself first, or do you wait for the world to reward you before you develop yourself further? Everything you have learned can be summarized in one Stoic principle. Money is an honest feedback about your inner state. It reflects your discipline, your clarity, your values, and your emotional maturity. And the wonderful thing is, you can change this inner state at any time. All it takes is the willingness to observe your thoughts, question your reactions, and live as if you were already whole. Not pretending, but by genuinely aligning yourself with your best self. Money doesn't respond to prayers. It responds to how you think, how you act, and how you present yourself in the world. Every moment, you send out a signal through your decisions, your tone of voice, and your behavior. You were never born to chase after money. The Stoics would say, you were born to rule your mind with reason, and everything else will follow. Once you recognize your intrinsic worth, you stop acting like a seeker. You become a steady flow, someone who gives and receives in balance. Prosperity begins to flow through you like water through a clear, open riverbed. You don't force anything. You don't panic about timing. You're simply ready. Prosperity requires a clear path, and if you've made it this far, restructured your thoughts, let go of fear-based habits, and mustered the courage to see yourself as valuable, then you have become that path. Money has no feelings. It simply follows the order of things. It stays where there is structure. It strives for clarity. It avoids chaos. When you say, I need to find money, you're putting yourself in the mindset of someone disconnected from their own power, as if wealth were something outside of you, as if you had to earn permission to receive it. But the Stoics teach that the true source of stability lies within yourself. Money doesn't come through luck. It comes because your character is strong enough to bear it, unperturbed by fear or poor decisions. You don't need any other tricks. You need a single guiding principle. I am a suitable place where good things can remain, multiply, and be used wisely. When you live from this inner peace, something rare happens. You stop demanding and begin to receive. You no longer panic when results come slowly because you trust in the right timing. Just like a forest doesn't beg for rain, it simply stores the water well when it comes. Every invisible boundary you carry with you, whether from your childhood, societal norms, or past fears, begins to fade. And the clearer your mind becomes, the more naturally prosperity flows to you. You had the courage to look inward and admit the truth. It wasn't a lack of talent that held you back, but a lack of inner alignment. The Stoics always said that a person's greatest obstacle is not the world, but their own confused mind. And you dared to face that. That alone sets you apart from most people. Once inner alignment takes hold, you no longer need to achieve or force anything. Your presence radiates a calm serenity that others can sense. A person rooted in virtue doesn't need to make a show of it. Their way of moving through the world is enough. Perhaps the change isn't yet reflected in your wallet. Perhaps those around you still doubt your career path. Perhaps no one sees the growth taking place behind the scenes. But when your inner world has changed, when your thoughts are clearer, your decisions more considered, and your intentions purer, this will eventually be reflected in the outer world. The Stoics taught that harmony of mind comes first, then harmony of results. The soil changes before the tree grows. Time will take care of the rest. And don't forget, you don't have to be rich to live with the dignity of someone who is rich inside. Wealth isn't the number, but the character behind it. When you choose to speak with self-respect, to act with purpose, and to make decisions from wisdom rather than fear, you open the door for resources to flow to you naturally. You don't chase after wealth, but become someone who can use it wisely. You don't possess wealth like an object. You become the kind of person through whom wealth can flow without being wasted. Once you understand this, short-term changes will no longer unsettle you. Unexpected expenses may catch you off guard, but they won't control you. You will no longer live in fear of enough or not enough, because you know that true prosperity comes from your discipline, clarity, and inner stability. The Stoics said that a calm mind can transform even difficulties into opportunities. The stream of prosperity flows ceaselessly to those who are willing to use it. As long as your mind remains clear, no panic, no rushing, no despair, the flow will always return. Napoleon Hill said that you cannot possess anything you have not first become in spirit. The Stoics would add, you cannot keep anything you are not prepared to master. And now, having examined and let go of everything, you are no longer someone trying to appear wealthy. You are someone living from inner strength. You act from steadfastness. You think clearly. You make conscious choices. Wealth is no longer a costume you wear. It is simply the attitude of your mind. You have chosen to grow from within. You have chosen to trust the long process instead of chasing quick results. You have chosen to be the sower, the one who plants, nurtures, and prepares, instead of the impatient one who cares only for the harvest. And because of this mindset, your goals naturally become bigger than you. Instead of asking, how much money can I make? You now ask yourself, how many people can I help? How far can the good that flows through me reach? This is the highest wealth of Stoic wisdom, not the wealth of possessions, but the wealth of impact, virtue, and character. This is the moment when you truly become rich, not through numbers, not through public recognition, but because you know who you are. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to cling to anything. You live in harmony with reason and the order of nature. And this kind of wealth cannot be stolen by markets or by failures, nor shaken by uncertainty. Even the fiercest storms cannot destroy a person who is rooted within themselves. You are no longer the one chasing after things. You are the source, you are the channel, you are the steady current. You hold the key to your life because you have trained your mind to remain steadfast. And now you are ready to live in that state, not just today but forever.